Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our podcast network, head to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast. My name is Colin Moriarty. I'm joined as always by my brother, Dagan Moriarty, wearing his Yankees cap. There was a time where you wouldn't see me without that. Yeah, Matty doesn't like that. Matty doesn't know that era of Colin at all.
Yeah.
I lived in a Yankees hat from probably age 6 or 7 to my mid-20s.
Yes, you did.
And I believe most Yankee fans are just grandfathered in. I don't think they're actual fans. Like, I grew up a Yankee fan, but I woke up one day. I was like, I'm a Mets fan now since 2014. Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Can I be completely honest with you?
Please.
I've thought about that before.
Yeah.
With
some
the
days
Mets
you just wake up,
specifically,
you're like, it's time to be a Mets fan.
Not because I would ever abandon the Yankees. I was born into it. It's totally true. Our family is big Yankee fans, except for like my aunt Joni is actually a big Mets fan.
Yeah.
But she was a kid when they came around, and she grew up right next to where they played. So that's obvious.
That's awesome.
Right.
But what's always bothered me is that I'm a Long Island sports fan, except for baseball. The Mets are Long Island's baseball team.
Indeed.
And so
Queens.
I've thought in my past, like, shouldn't I be a Mets fan? But it just seems so impure. And so what I do is I just don't root against them in any way. Yeah,
okay.
That's the best I can do. By the way, don't I look like a fucking maniac right now? I look like a squire in Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, you got some Assassin's Creed. We talked about LL. Mama said knock you out. Like the whole, maybe a little Eminem in there.
Yeah, what's going on? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Chris Raygun, thank you for joining us today. How are you today, my friend Dominic Rice and Bean? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I woke up. All right, so I wanted to save this for the show. Woke up about 20 minutes ago, just straight up.
Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah,
me too.
Nice.
Coming in hot.
That's usually how I do it. I usually I wake up, I roll out. Well, I'm also earlier over here.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You're in
true.
Pacific time. Yeah.
So I roll out of bed and I jolt myself awake. I splash hot water, like scalding hot water in my own face. Just to get myself ready for the day.
Yeah.
And then I roll into the booth.
Good.
But yeah.
Looking like Two-Face.
Exactly. Over time it'll begin to show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my family is all Yankees, but like I think it's like I don't care about baseball at all. Like I played baseball when I was like a kid. Like because I'm Hispanic and that's what they do to Hispanic children. They're like, you're going to be the next A-Rod. Right. I was like, I really don't think so. I really don't think so. But so I played it for a while and I was a Yankee fan purely because like my family was.
That's what I'm saying.
You just comes with the territory. Yeah.
It comes with the territory
into it.
But I will say having as I got older, I did look into other baseball teams and I got to say, that Yankee logo is top. Like it's a good logo. Like it's a good hat specifically.
It is.
Like a Yankee hat is a good hat. I've seen Mets hats and I'm like, what even is that?
Oh, come on.
Like what even is that logo?
Come on now.
Nah.
They're both interlocking NYs, but they're so different.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
so different.
The Mets logo is just so like.
It's like the Mets logo is a little more like curvy, I think, right? Like it's got a little bit more of a panache, a little bit more of a panache.
It's got curved serifs. It looks like it's got like 15 mustaches. It's like there's something so weird about it.
That's what we call style.
Yeah. MrMattyPlays, let's bring you in, our other guest this week. Mets fan, so that makes a lot of sense. How are you feeling today, my friend? Welcome.
I'm a little itchy today. I got to be honest. I don't know if that's a good way to start things off, but I've had some issues with the deodorant I bought. So I usually am an Irish Spring deodorant guy. Mm-hmm. And I made the mistake of, I always pop the cap off in the store to look at the top to make sure it's a dry stick.
Good move.
I was in a rush, so I did not check. And it was one of those slick gel type deodorants.
Why is it that they're so indistinguishable?
I know, right?
Like from the outside.
So I'm thinking it's my usual deodorant. It's the same shape and size. I'm like, all right, I'll make it work. I don't want to waste my money. I want to waste what I just bought. I've been using it and I'm just so itchy, but I'm like, if I don't use it, I smell awful. So it's been a real terrible back and forth until today I'm going to make my way back to the grocery store and I'm going to get my dry deodorant, which is usually the one that does not argue with my skin. But shout out to Irish Spring. They have some great smelling deodorant.
They do, man. I love Irish Spring. I'm an Irish Spring body wash guy myself.
Oh God. Yeah.
I actually have I'm very specific with toiletry brands. Crest Pro Health toothpaste, Listerine mouthwash, the gold dial bar soap, the standard Irish Spring body wash, and then your standard Head and Shoulders shampoo.
Head and Shoulders.
That's literally and Lubriderm, dry skin, the blue bottle, white and blue bottle. That's my standard go-to in all respects.
That's true. Now that you mention it, anything in my bathroom is consistent for at least 5-10 years now. Like it's just nothing has changed. Once you get into that comfort area, you go, that's for me. Like down to the toothpaste, like you mentioned yours, and I always use 3D white. That's the one I just feel like I get a good clean in. Like I've used other ones and it just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah,
I used to like AIM when I was a kid. You remember the toothpaste AIM? Yeah. And then I found out, then you discovered that it was like the dollar store toothpaste, and I was like, "Is it really working?"
Yeah, it's asbestos in that. That's so funny because like my bathrooms been so inconsistent for like the entirety of my life. Like I don't think like I've ever like I go into the grocery store and I go like, all right, I need shampoo, and then I walk and I was like, oh, that says shampoo, all right, I'll grab it. Or like, all right. You know, like I
respect the lack of fucks given. Honestly,
I can't. Like I figure, like, dude, it's on the shelf. It must work. You know, it's like it can't. Like it's not like a bit of kit. You know, it's not like a camera where I have to like, oh man, I'm gonna drop like $1,500 on a camera. I gotta know if it's a good DSLR. I gotta know how long the recording time. I gotta know if it works well with my interface or whatever the fuck. It's toothpaste. It can't possibly be on the shelf if it doesn't paste your teeth, you know? So I mean, I have preferences still. Like I like African black soap is awesome. Like, and if I come across it, I'll grab it. And I think
sounds racist.
It's really good.
I've genuinely never heard of it. I thought I was the only one.
Dude, it's so good. It's like I think it's like shea butter, some kind of soap, but it's like it's amazing. It's like this big brick of black soap, and it's like textured. It's like almost like sandpapery. It sounds fucking terrible, but it's amazing.
I like that. I'm gonna try that.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's very earthen, like very granola.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You feel like
I just need to get one thing out because now that we're on this subject, I feel like I'll never have the opportunity to say it. But have you tried that Dr. Something 18-in-1 soap?
Yes, I something similar where it's like it comes in a big bottle.
Yeah, and it's multi-purpose. And I remember it's like one of the most recommended soaps for body wash. And I try it. I don't think I've ever dried out more than with this body wash. And I look and I'm like, this thing's used to clean cars. Like, it's insane. I'm like, dude, no wonder this thing dried me out. Like,
it's so funny, man. I haven't thought about that in a long time. I had a friend who was watching a friend's apartment, and I was staying there at the apartment sometimes just to hang out with them. And the person whose apartment it was, who I didn't know, had all of that granola type shit. And had like a big ass like bottle of that in the shower, and you would just use it to wash your hair, wash your body. You could wash the shower with it. I think you could wash the toilet with it.
That's so sickening.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a very naturalistic. It's so funny you brought that up. I haven't thought of that in a long time.
That happened
Dr. Bronner's. That's what it's called.
I think it's the exact thing. Yeah,
that happened for that was. I mean, that's still a thing. Like the whole like 3-in-1 or that's the one thing that I will not do. Like if I get something, if I get like a body wash, if I get a shampoo, it's never like a 3-in-1, 2-in-1. It's always like this is specifically shampoo, this is specifically body wash. I'm not combining shit. This isn't some some weird Igor Dr. Frankenstein lab where we're mixing up different fucking concoctions. I remember when I was a kid, I used to pretend to like be like a scientist, and I would like mix like different shampoos and like and fucking body washes and stuff. But like, you grow the fuck up.
Yeah. I used to do that with spices, much to my mom's chagrin.
Oh my God. You just like mix oregano and basil.
I would just like, I would do like a fake cooking show when she was cooking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where I would like mix things together. I don't know. And I understood why she would like kind of let me do it, but be mad because I'm probably using like literally $7 worth of just random spices in the house, which I'm sure my dad would have fucking murdered me if he knew I was doing that kind of stuff. One thing I wanted to say, because I thought this was funny, because Matty wasn't at the show in Houston, although I didn't say anything at the time. I got delivered to me like just some toiletries I needed. And one of them, it's so funny you say this, Matty, was I use Dove for Men, like the powder scented deodorant stick, which I like. But again, you can't tell what you're getting.
No.
It's just, it comes in the same thing, and it's just, there you can get this. So I ordered it, and I got one I never even seen before, which is one with body lotion in it. And I used it like it's like a lotion plus a deodorant stick. And I smelled it, and I'm like, this kind of smells weird. Like, it doesn't smell bad. But so when I used it, like, you know, but then I just threw it away.
No, did you really?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to bring this home. I'm not bringing this back to Virginia, this awkward smelling stick of deodorant. All I asked for was Dove for Men powder, the blue deodorant. Like, just why is that so difficult?
Nobody likes the clear gel translucent deodorant. Why do they even make it? I've never heard someone say the opposite. Like, I went to the store and I got the wrong one and I came home with this white chalky stuff. Everybody likes the white chalky stuff.
Yeah.
No, totally.
I used the slick translucent one in high school. I don't know what changed, but something did. I think I was getting itchy. Yeah, I think that's the same
situation. Wrong with that stuff.
When I first got into deodorant in the mid 90s, like when I first started using it, like, you know, you kind of have your health class and all that, and they tell you like, you should start using this and that and the other.
Age, yeah.
And I remember the first thing I ever got actually was like the spray bottle. Remember that? You know,
oh my God, I forgot about those.
Which I think you could still buy, but you know, like Right Guard, like spraying your arm or whatever.
Oh my
Then
God.
I got the gel one, what you're talking about, and I remember being really fascinated with like it would come up these little slivers. So like it was this whole gel thing, and it would force it up.
Oh,
and I was like really into it.
Yeah.
So I would just like ruin the entire bar, you know, the thing in like days. And then finally I got to the bar because I'm like, there's just nothing interesting about this to me.
Dude,
I gotta just use this.
Matty and I went to the same high school, so I'm sure we have very similar memories. Like people with those fucking Axe.
That was literally my first thought. I was going to ask.
What was it? Axe?
You guys were the Axe generation.
I was a little too late for Axe. Like it came out when I was like in college and beyond. You know,
people would hose down the locker room with that shit after gym. Just all you hear is like people just spraying it ad nauseum.
Oh fuck,
that's awesome. Yeah, I felt like. It's the reason I don't wear cologne is because I feel like it's presumptive that you want to smell me. So like, you know, I walk into a restaurant and you have that nice musky smell, right? Of a nice cologne or whatever. I love cologne. I think cologne's awesome. But who the fuck am I to walk in making you smell the fucking pine teak wood shit?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a burger here. You know, you don't need to smell me.
Dude,
I want to smell neutral. I don't want to smell like anything.
I put cologne on when I go to fucking H&M.
Good for you, my friend.
I like it. I like the moxie.
That should have been my topic. That was great.
That was really good.
Well, this week on Constellation, our conversational podcast, we have a doozy of topics. You already know them if you've clicked play, whether on podcast or video. We welcome you. Thank you so much for your love, kindness, and support of all things Last Stand, especially on Patreon, patreon.com/laststandmedia. We are basically doing better than ever. And we have a few less patrons than we did at our max, but actually making more money than ever, which I appreciate. Thanks, guys.
There you go.
This allows us to pay all of our people fairly. This allows us to keep the business properly attended to with, you know, legal assistance, with accounting assistance, with all of that. And of course, we're able to keep doing this on kind of a machine guns trajectory, which I really appreciate. So thank you so much for helping us. Let's see, the four of us. Yeah. We don't work real jobs. So thank you.
We love games.
Sometimes I become, I actually was talking about this. Was it on the last episode of this show where I was saying, what these guys weren't here, where I was saying, we were talking about imposter syndrome, right? That was on the last episode of Constellation.
I think so.
Someone had brought up imposter syndrome and I'm like, I don't have imposter syndrome. I think I belong here. Totally. All I understand is that luck and timing play major roles. And if you don't accept that, then you're just dumb.
It's huge.
then you're just, but you can own it. You know what I mean? You can own it. You can own it. It's okay, my friends. Let's get into it. I look at the four topics here and they are strange, but Dagan, I actually want to start with yours this week for a specific reason as I let you introduce it, because, and I shit you not, this was going to be my topic.
Oh, that happened already? 9 episodes in?
I was telling that to Micah. I'm like, that is so extraordinary because the topics could literally be anything. I mean, that's a very brotherly thing that we would encounter this topic. And it was, I like to kind of come in hot, as we know. I just woke up, minutes ago. But I do that with the topics too. I don't try. Some people, I think almost everyone that does the show keeps a list of topics. I don't do that. I'm just like, the next topic is, because I don't want to be beholden to anything.
Okay.
But so I find it particularly weird that we overlapped, because it's not like it's on my list. It was just the topic I was thinking of.
Yeah, so, I like your organic approach, man. I do keep a list. I know you must. Scatterbrained.
I know you. Well, it's not only that. I've never seen someone present so many options. So like when I've made fun of Dagan for this before. Dagan designs all the logos and all the backgrounds, but when Dagan, I've had to start telling him, like, you need to just not make so many.
It drives people nuts.
Because at some point I'm like, I don't know what you want me to even do with these. Just tell me, you're the artist. You won the Emmy, right? Like, you tell me what the logo should be.
Yeah. I stopped getting called into brainstorm meetings at work when I worked a job, like a long-term job. I won't say where it was, because it was driving people crazy. And I always thought, like, well, the more the merrier. If you don't want to read all the ideas, don't read them. We're going through this right now. We're creating something for LSM. I won't say what it is. And I was doing this yesterday, and I was driving myself crazy with it. I think it's an OCD. This will play into Chris's topic later, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, two things. First of all, Matty, you were missed in Houston.
Yes, of course.
I missed you guys.
You really were. And second of all, right before I clicked on the link to join you guys for the show today, I saw I had a message from my garbage company, from my sanitation company, that said in the title, "Awesome News." And I didn't, what can this possibly be? My curiosity is piqued, but I'm saving it for when we dispatch, because what could this possibly be? How awesome could this be? So I'll let you guys know next episode.
Possibilities are endless.
It's like,
in one of the they turned over one of the garbage cans, and out came these ninjas with these turtles with ninja masks on.
That would have been awesome news.
That would have been radical news, though. Not awesome.
Yeah, that's true. Totally tubular news.
All right.
All right. So shall we launch in?
Please.
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to talk to you guys today. Very superstitions. Superstitions.
I like it.
Little Stevie Wonder there to open it up. Now, yeah, this is an interesting one for me, which this is one of those things that I think is kind of like part of our day-to-day life, but we don't think about it a lot, right? So I'll tell you what got the gears turning. I was in my garage. Oh, you know what it was? It was for the trip to Houston. Helene needed one of the big suitcases. So I have an attic above my garages with a pull-down ladder, but my garage is like a mess. We're in like spring cleaning mode right now. So I could get the ladder down and folded, and then it kind of ran into this column of boxes down the middle of the garage. So I could climb up the ladder. I had access to the ladder, but I couldn't get to the deeper part of my garage unless I put the ladder back up, because it formed like a blockade. And I realized I wanted to get to the other side of the garage, and I was like, oh, I'm not walking under the ladder. And then I was like, wait a second. And then that got the kind of the ball moving. And I was like, what is this? And I just started to think about all those things I grew up with that were like handed down from either friends or family, right? That we all grew up with. That I have no idea what the meaning behind these things are, but that I have this really cowardly philosophy with superstition where I don't think I believe in this stuff, but I just kind of abide because I don't want to tempt fate, Instead of taking a bolder approach, like, let me just try to walk under this ladder. Let me see if this brings bad luck. And then, like a cow falls on me from out of the sky or something, but I won't. I realized I won't do all of those things. And I was kind of curious to see how this applied to you guys and which ones you believe in. Do you go in for it at all? Because I think all the main superstitions, right? All the typical ones, like I try not to step on cracks, won't walk under a ladder, won't open an umbrella indoors. What else? I'm terrified to break a mirror. I don't know what that one is, but that one's like 10 times worse because it's 7 years bad luck. Right?
that is a hard. I have never broken a mirror still to this day, and I feel like I would actually melt down if I broke a mirror.
I would be so upset.
Yeah,
if I broke a mirror, I didn't think twice about it.
That's so interesting.
See, This is what I need. I think I need the encouragement.
I'm going away for you guys keep going. I'm going to get evidence of my of my superstition. So just keep going. Go.
He's going to come back with an intact mirror.
And a hammer.
It's like, look, I didn't break this. But no,
I remember the way I broke my mirror. It's such a stupid story, but I had a kind of vertical mirror that would just stand up on its own. And I think I was trying to use it to take a stupid picture. So I had to put it up a little bit higher because it was just sitting on the floor. And when I put it up higher, it was literally on I think a board game box or something like that. And the board game box fell over. So down goes the mirror, and the mirror was just fragile as all get out. So it just snaps clean in half. And that was it. But I didn't think twice about it. So it's funny because as you were talking, Dagan, it reminded me of the step on a crack superstition. And I think that's one. Originally, I was coming in, I had a completely different train of thought. But that is one that I must believe in because I go on walks almost every day.
Okay.
And there's sidewalks all over. And I always try to avoid the cracks. It's like a mental game with me. It almost occupies me on my walk. I just obsessively avoid cracks. And it's so natural to me that I'll be like thinking of something else while I'm just avoiding these cracks. It's a weird thing. I don't know if it's superstitious or if it's like I've almost been taught growing up, like you shouldn't step on these things. Think of your mother, for God's sakes.
It's like a habit. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a really, is it a good habit? Is it a bad habit? I can't really tell.
You know what I think it is? I think it's honestly just the gamification of mundane everyday activities. I don't think because I don't believe in that superstition at all, obviously. Because I remember many times as a kid, I was just like, yeah, because sometimes I'll do like, okay, I'll try to avoid the cracks as like a little bit of a game to see like, how can I lead into the stride? Like how can I maximize this? And then other times I'm like, I'm going to go all cracks on this run.
Fuck my mom. I'm going all cracks.
And your mom's back is fine.
My mom is entirely fine. Like I'm not superstitious. Like I never did like, I spilled salt. I got to toss it over my shoulder. Like I break it or like a black cat.
That's another one.
The black cat thing. I just think is just like, but like that's like vaguely racist. Like,
I wonder where those come from.
Just that poor, like that cat didn't ask to be born that way. And then it's just like seen as this evil, like they used to kill black cats. Like literally.
Did they really?
Yeah, they used to fucking cull them because there was like people were like, oh, it's bad luck for black cats.
It's true because I think black cats are the least adopted as well, which is sad because
literally,
I think black cats are beautiful.
Yeah, black cats are dope. Well, I mean, they're fine. They're cats. But like I don't know. I've never had. The only thing that I think is like even remotely close to this is like I really like the number 7, and if I notice it, I get like a slight boost in like morale or like mood. I don't know what it is exactly, but like if I just happen to say like this is the address, it's like 7777. It's like, oh, that's sick. I gotta go to 7777. That's dope. But outside of that, man, I'll step on every fucking crack in the world.
I love that defiance.
That's bold.
I need that.
Sorry, I had to go to the garage, and you'll see why. Because you know something I used to be very superstitious about?
Do you have a monkey's paw or something?
No, I don't have anything like that. You're going to appreciate this, though, and Matty's going to appreciate this eventually. You know what I was very, 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 very superstitious as? A hockey player.
Yep, I knew it. That's where I was originally going to go.
And,
oh my God.
Yeah. And goalies are particularly known as being nuts.
Yes.
And I was a goalie. I went and got my old skates to show you. So here's the story. There are certain things I would do, and I'll go through all of my routine. But the big thing was that I would write on the bottom of my skates a particular word. Here it is. This is my first pair of goalie skates from middle school. So you can see it says weird. Right.
Oh, I never knew this.
And these are my first pair of Bauer goalie skates. I probably haven't worn these since 1996 or 1997. And then these are my skates from high school. Weird. Right? Underneath them.
You gotta explain this.
So
this is weird.
The story is weird. The story is that I was a big fan. I mean, I loved hockey, and I'm sure Matty can understand this. I just loved hockey. I would watch any game. I would go to any game. I'd be playing NHL 94, 95, 96, 97, like all just I would just lived and breathed it. Yeah. And you'll appreciate this, Matty, because who won the Stanley Cup in 1994?
The Rangers.
Right. And they played the Canucks.
More, as they say.
Right, exactly. Or you know, we have a whole chant at Islander games about that Stanley Cup. Well, I'll leave it for that. But, you know, buying the cup and all this, basically the Edmonton Oilers. Okay, we'll get that's neither here nor there. Okay, so there was a goalie. They played the Canucks. The goaltender for the Canucks, this was a wonderful Canucks team, Pavel Bure, etc. Kirk McLean was their goalie. And I really liked Kirk McLean. My favorite goalie of all time is Artis Urbe. But Kirk McLean was up there as one of my favorite goalies. And there's a famous shot that was in Sports Illustrated during the series. That was 2 pages, and it's him doing a butterfly. And on the bottom of his skate, he wrote weird. And it was like this big thing where people were like, what the hell is that? And it created like this whole thing. So I started doing it, copying him, because I was 10, you know? So that's literally the first skate I drew it on, was that skate that I had right there. And ever since then, I would do weird things with my equipment like that. I had the same, I wouldn't get a new blocker for many years. I got like 3 sets of new pads and gloves and chest protectors, but just had the same Brian's blocker. So weird things like that. And then I wouldn't touch the blue line. I would jump over the blue line during morning skate or during, you know, when you were practicing. I wouldn't even skate around when I'd just go right to the crease. I'd bring my own extra stick to the bench. I refused to let the equipment managers or anyone bring my stick to the bench. So I'd have, it would be funny. Like all the sticks would be lined up and I'd literally go and just throw my stick into the bench. That's like what I had to do. And then all my different things with like doing a certain amount of butterflies and, you know, chopping up the crease and putting my equipment on in very specific order. So I was really, really into that superstitious part of hockey. But what was interesting about it was that I just picked up a lot of this stuff from knowing that other goalies were like that. And I wonder how much that superstition is self-perpetuating. It reminds me a lot of kickers in the NFL that are supposed to also be really weird. And I wonder like how that experience is just predicated on the previous experience and not on your own. Like you're a kicker, so you feel like you should be weird. When I was a goalie, everyone told me I was weird. You know, I played hockey since I was 6 years old. I became a goalie when I was 8 or 9. Everyone's like, you want to be a goalie? You want to be the goalie? Oh, you're the goalie? Like that was literally my entire experience growing up, because no one wanted to play goal for some reason, even though I think it's fucking awesome. And as I understand that, that's even a problem today in men's leagues. Like no one wants to play goal.
Oh, that's odd.
That's the problem we had. We have beer leagues and yeah, no one ever wants to play goalie. It was always like, oh, we have like 30 skaters, but no one, we might only have one goalie.
And that's so weird because I'm like, playing goal is a joy. I fucking love playing goal.
It's not the pressure, because that's a pressure position.
Yeah, that's that was the whole weird dichotomy. And it might have come up on a previous show when I was saying that my coach used to make me, like, Matty, you'll remember before when I got to high school, that's when we had a starting goalie and a backup goalie. But in my travel league leading up to that, you'd have 2 goalies and you would split time, either game, or I was on teams where you'd play half the game. And my coach used to always make me start. Like every game, because he knew I was so fucking scared. And so like in my head, that you just like get it over with and play and just get it done with.
Smart, yeah.
Which I appreciate. And I'll always remember that because it makes me still want to put my shoulder into things. But yeah, so that was kind of, I thought I'd grab those out of the garage to show you guys that was kind of the beginnings of my weird superstitions. But generally speaking, and I'm sorry, I missed like a minute of the conversation, so I don't know exactly what you guys said, but I am superstitious about a couple of other things, or I just noticed them. When I left Kind of Funny, I became really obsessed with the time 12:34 because I kept seeing it over and over again, and it's 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and I kept seeing it like in those months leading after it. And I used it as kind of I interpreted it as like, go along, be in order, keep going, move. You know, I don't know. I mean, that was just my cosmic interpretation of seeing that time over and over again. I see it much less often now, but I still think about that when I see it. And then finally, here in the neighborhood, when I walk the dogs, I've had weird experiences where like there's a bluebird that I see all of the time. I don't know if it's the same bird, but it's just such a beautiful and strange bird that I'm like, is this, you know, when you see an Oriole or something and you notice it, or a cardinal because it's so beautiful and it's so
stands
different.
Out. Yeah.
I see this bird on a constant basis. Yeah. Like it's very weird. And I've started pointing it out to Micah when we're together. I'm like, look, there's a fucking bluebird again. Like am I just noticing this thing, or is this thing following me? Like Christopher.
Christopher.
You know, with the fucking whatever, the raven or whatever the hell
raven
it was.
Raven when he's getting made, yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically it. The only other thing I would say is that in the shower, I have to do things in a very specific order. And if I don't, I'd start from the very beginning and do it all again.
What? That's what. So wait a minute, hold on. So if what is the completion point of the shower?
When I get in the shower, I brush my teeth, then I do my body with a loofah, like soap and a loofah. Okay. Then I wash my hair. Then I take the bar soap and wash my face. I rewash like my armpits and like my crotch, like the dirtier areas of a man. Then right. And then after I do that, then I'm done. Then I can get out. So as long as those things are done in that order.
All right, so it's not like a situation where like you get out and you dry your hair with the wrong towel and you're like, fuck, I got to shower again.
No, I have a towel hanging right there, like we have a his and her shower in our master bathroom, which is like I didn't even know that was a thing. And frankly, I think it's a huge waste of space. I'd rather have a huge bathtub there. But
sure,
so like
yeah.
So on Micah's shower, which is like not used when I'm in there typically, I just have a towel waiting there, and then I just, I use that. So there's no problems with that. I wouldn't get out without a towel.
Right.
And it's because you think something bad is going to happen or you're going to have bad luck if you don't do it that way.
Yeah, precisely.
Right? It's
very weird. Like, isn't it weird? Like, why would that be? And I loved how you were bringing up the stuff, and I'm sure you guys talked about it when I was gone, but the stuff with like mirrors, umbrellas, all of this. Who the fuck made this up? I mean, this is, can you imagine there's just a random man named Fred Douglass or something? That's a weird name to pick. Fred Douglass in 1825 in England. And he just makes this thing up about umbrellas indoors. And then he tells his friends, and his friends kind of live it. And then they tell and that's like literally the origin point of it or something.
I feel like a lot of these specific superstitions are like really old world lies that adults tell children to get them to not do certain things.
Yeah. Like a fairy tale. Yeah.
Like, don't walk under the ladder. I'm working. You could get hurt. And it's like, why? It's like, cause you'll have fucking bad luck forever. That's why.
A great point.
Get away. Get out from under or like, if you break a mirror, that's just easy. It's just like, don't break my mirrors. Otherwise you're going to be cursed.
Yeah. They
forever.
Were expensive back in the day.
Stay away from strange cats. You're going to get hurt. Why? I don't care if I get hurt. It's like, all right, well, if you approach him, you're gonna get like cursed for fucking 10 years or whatever. Like, I feel like a lot of that is really.
That's a great point.
Don't open umbrella indoors. What are you, obnoxious? Like, what are you, an idiot? It's like, what do you mean, Mom? And it's like, it's bad luck to do that. That's why you don't do that. And then you're like, whoa. And it's like baby's first like small god is basically what it is. It's like this slight religion.
It is
that you teach kids just to get them to not do shit.
What was our guy's name? Sir Fred Williams? Was that his name?
No, Fred Douglass, which is especially
Sir Fred Douglass. Or it could have been like this dude just opened an umbrella in his barn one day. The barn collapsed on his head, and everybody's like, "Don't do that anymore," because it was just like some random coincidence that spurned this legend.
Yeah,
that type of thing.
100%. If you look at a lot of those old superstitions, they just seem like common sense things to not do. Like aside from the cat thing, like I don't really understand the black cat thing. I guess they're like vaguely ominous. Like if you're, if you don't know that there are other planets, you're probably really concerned with like the spiritual power of a black cat. But
the black cat thing happens to me several times a year. It's weird. It's almost like the universe telling, because I am superstitious and I'm like OCD and I'm just like a worrier and very anxious. And I feel like it's the universe telling me like, you could abide by all these weird superstitions, but here's one for you. And every time I see it, like I'll see the black cat, I'm like, don't cross in front of it. It's always driving. I'm like, don't cross in front of the car. And it does. And then I do the thing like, oh, maybe it's not black. Maybe it has like a white patch, like it's crazy. Like I just need to stop like worrying about these random made up.
Yeah, you gotta
myths.
you gotta relax, man.
I gotta chill.
That'll break you. That'll break you. The thing to me, it's just like, I don't know. I'm trying to, because I'm sure there are some weird thing. Like I'm sure I have some weird rituals that I don't really think about because no one's ever pointed them out to me because they're too afraid. But I don't know if I have anything that's like, I'm not a particularly spiritual person, I guess, or like I don't believe, like there's certain things that I'm just like, all right, there's like walking under a ladder can't. I think generally it could possibly be like you could have so much bad luck that you almost like horseshoe around to the other side to having good luck. Like if you break like 1 million mirrors, that's probably like that circles around to probably good luck at a certain point. Like
that's a great point. Yeah, counteracts.
Why not? Yeah.
I have crossed the street in New York to avoid walking under ladders. Like,
really?
That's how, because some of the stuff, like all these things are so easy. It's like, why tempt fate? That's always been my philosophy. Like, I know that's like hokey old religion, but like, I'm not going to go, you know what I mean? Like, again, like, it's just like, our family has one. Have you guys ever heard of this? I don't know if this is an old Italian thing, but this is the one in my family that I saw like the elders in my family, like my grandparents and great grandparents react to the most. Because my great grandmother dove once, like nearly, like it's putting a shoe on the table. Don't put your shoes on the table. And I think somebody had like new shoes. Like my sister just got new shoes. We were little kids. And my mom was showing everybody, oh, look at these patent leather shoes I got Dana or whatever. Put the shoebox on the table. And my great grandmother came running in like, get those off the table. Like it's some old Sicilian, superstition. Like and I don't know what the origins are there. But that was always the one that I thought was weird that I never hear anybody else talk about.
I know what the origins of that are.
You do?
You know what the origins of that are? That's, what are you doing putting your fucking filthy shoes on our goddamn table? Don't do that. And the kid's like, why? Why not? It's like, you'll have bad luck. That's why.
That's probably exactly what it is.
All of these come down to like things a kid would do that like an adult would find vaguely annoying. They just like find some
manipulating the youth.
Yeah, absolutely. I love manipulating the youth. It's like it's a great tool.
I wonder if I torture my kids with this. I'd rather not pass this stuff down because I think that's why I grew up to be so neurotic.
I'm absolutely passing this stuff. I want to I want to compound the neuroses. If I ever have kids, I want to make them twice as neurotic as me. So
if I had it, you have to have it.
Yeah. Sorry. No Adderall for you.
The problem is when you're surrounded by people who are superstitious, you feel like you're missing something. Like I got into playing hockey very late. Like I started playing when I was in college. But for me, I would just.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's very rare.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I wanted to play in high school, but I was very convinced because I weighed about, I think, 130 in high school. And I was very convinced I was too small. But then I saw Matt Zuccarello. He was formerly a Ranger. He's on the Wild now. He is way smaller. And I saw him. He was one of the best players on the Rangers. And it was kind of that inspiration of like, maybe I just need to develop skill and talent and maybe I could try. And I did. And it was a ton of fun. I love it. And so I haven't played in a decent amount of time now, just because with the balance issues and shit, like obviously skating's not going to work in my favor. But yeah, like when I was lacing up, I had an order I would do things in, like, to, you couldn't, like, for example, I'm trying to remember because it's been so long, but like you would have to put on your pads a certain way before your skates. And
like your shin guards would go first typically.
Right. Like those are things you have to follow a certain rule book, but like some dudes would take like the tape that they'd wrap around and they do it in specific areas, 3 wraps, tap the exit sign 3 times for just nuts. And I'm just thinking, like, would I reach another level? But it's funny because the Rangers played a Stadium Series game one time and Henrik Lundqvist was obviously in net for that game. And because of the way the sun was set up, it was creating a glare on the ice. So they had to delay the game multiple times. And it messed with his routine, his superstitions so bad that it was like he had a horrible game. And he literally said that in the press conference. He's like, yeah, my routine got messed up. And so many of these guys are extremely dependent on like how Colin broke it down. It's a perfect example of like a very specific routine. If you break that up for them, it can fuck up their whole game. And so for me, as someone who wasn't that way, I didn't have a particular like route and warm-ups, a particular thing I had to do. I just knew like, I want to get on the ice, move my legs, take a couple of shots, stretch. However many shots I take doesn't matter. However many laps I take doesn't matter. However long I stretch, it's until I feel like my muscles are loose. That's it. But there were dudes who did it so precisely at like specific spots in the ring. It was really, really interesting to see. As someone who was like, new to playing the sport at that time, like there was a lot of, especially superstition in hockey. But I always felt like I was missing something in that. I wonder if it's because I didn't really grow up with those habits and around those people for so long that by this point in my life, I'm just like, well, I'm avoiding cracks on the sidewalk. I think that's as far as I can go.
Yeah.
We used to have team superstitions too when I was younger. I didn't realize you started playing when you were older, which is funny. Like we would, do you ever see like tape balls or anything like that, like teams saving all of their tape.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So like you like start with like a small nugget of tape, and then everyone takes their tape off and wraps it around the bigger and bigger thing, and it becomes like this huge ball of tape over the season.
That's amazing.
Which is funny. You can do
that
things
just
like
sounds
that.
fun.
Yeah, it's like we were all kids, so we were weird. You know, I mean, pardon this thing with my skates, but it was just we listened to loud rock music in the locker room. We would fucking be belligerent to the coaches. We were just like really, I don't know what was going on. We loved playing hockey. We loved the sport. And yeah, so there was like a lot, and we wanted to, I think the big thing for me is we wanted to be the people we looked up to. And that was a big part of it too. Yeah. So when I found out that they did these things, when I found out they were crazy, I really did feel like I needed to be crazy too. When you hear stories about Patrick Waugh or Martin Brodeur or these guys and the things that, you know, Dominic Hasek and the things that they would do, it's like, well, I want to be like Dominic Hasek. You know, he does what? Like Artis Urbe, what? He never gets new equipment. Artis Urbe, what? He runs his fucking pads over in the team bus to break them in.
Wow.
You know, like shit like that. It's like, I want to do that.
That's funny.
It's like hysterical, you know? Because you can imagine like the goalie of a team in like 1992, so a more modest NHL, just getting in the team bus and just running his goalie pads over.
Keeps them fresh, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like apparently helped him break them in, you know? And when you read little anecdotes like that in Hockey News or something, or what was that hockey card magazine, Hobart's, I think it was called. There was always like cool little, especially in that magazine era, you got whatever you got. And so you would eat all this little shit up, and you just got to know the players on such a minute detail from their hockey cards and Sports Center and just watching endless hockey. I had no access to Hockey Night in Canada or anything like that, like the really good shit. We didn't have, the NHL Network didn't exist when I was a kid, or even when I was a teenager. That was a complete mystery. I used to have to watch Islander games. They were on like Sports Channel, which doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think.
Wow.
So anyway, anything else to say about Superstitions before we move?
All good here.
All right. Speaking of, you brought Adderall up before, I think, Chris. So let's go to you next. You wanted to talk a little bit about a topic near and dear to you, my friend.
Yeah. Well, specifically, I've been thinking. So I've recently, like in the last like year or two, I got diagnosed with ADHD, which is not like a huge thing. Like I kind of like always kind of assumed that there was something going on that was like not right. But there's an Adderall shortage right now, like throughout the entire world right now. So like I got prescribed medicine, but like I got prescribed it like 3 months ago, still no sign. So it's like, all right, well, I guess not a huge deal. I'm boxing too right now. So, and apparently Adderall is like an appetite suppressant. So it's probably best that I don't do it soon anyway. But fight's next month, by the way. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, I'm excited for you. Almost there.
Dude. It's getting close. But I was thinking a lot. I've been thinking a lot about ADHD in general lately. And I kind of had this weird epiphany. And I wonder what you guys make of this, because I feel like the way that a brain works with ADHD, where it's like it's very hyper focused or very easily distracted, I feel like that is a very historically probably very normal thing that only in the advent of social media and technology has become very, very difficult to manage in comparison. Like I really feel like if I had the same exact brain and the same exact disorder in like 1955, I'd be completely fine, because I wouldn't be inundated with like 5 million emails every day, or like 10,000 notifications, or like 500 news stories at any given hour. And I do feel, I don't know, like I was thinking about this, and you know, just the general conversation about like, oh, you know, this ADHD is like a new thing, and like people are kind of like being overdiagnosed now. I don't know if that's true. I think it's just the world itself has shifted in such a way that is particularly unkind to that kind of brain. And I was wondering, like, I don't know, like I wonder if that sounds insane, like as a thought, you know, or as like, or as like a hypothesis.
If I might expand on it, like, yeah, because I've thought about this, and I've talked about this in my own life and with my own therapist, where you and I have the same brains that we had when we were kids, right? Like we've grown up in all of this, and I'm older than you. So I come from the 80s, and I wasn't like this when I was younger. I feel like the struggle you're experiencing is perhaps the human struggle that a lot more people than we realize are experiencing, simply by nature of the environment that they're in. that taps into this very unfocused part of our brain. And that you're not, the reason that so many people talk about it is because indeed there are a lot of us that are being affected by this place and time. And because I think about that all the time, Chris, I think about the sheer thought of boredom. Right. It's like, imagine if you grew up on the frontier in the United States, you lived in like Kansas on a homestead. There was like a mom, a dad, and like 2 kids and a farm, and there might be a town of a few hundred people, maybe 20, 30, 40 miles away. That's boredom. And like, we can't even fathom that today. And I think our brains are still in that world because we evolve and change very slowly. And we've been bombarded with things as humanity that it's almost unbelievable, the things that we're like this. If you showed this to someone 100 years ago, they'd be like, what in the fuck is this? They'd have a question about every single aspect, like everything in all of our shots. They'd have questions about the foam on the wall. They don't understand this is a microphone, but what's going on with this? So you're talking to each other. What is this screen? You got a camera with a video, these lights. Like, what is this keyboard with these buttons on it? And it's like, that's everything that they didn't have 100 years ago. Yeah. So it's no, I guess what I'm saying is it's no wonder we're all fucked up. And I'm not trying to make excuses for ourselves, but look around.
No, I mean, I think that's part of it potentially, for sure. I just feel like you feel like you weren't like that when you were younger. I feel like I absolutely was. Like, I feel like this is not different. I feel like, because when I was a kid, I was like it was very similar. Like I would be like hyper obsessed with video games, or like oh, hey, here's like Pokemon Gold or whatever. I'm going to like run through this for like hours and hours and hours, spend a whole day on it. And if I got bored and I was allowed to feel that boredom, I would find something else. And I think the broader generalization, the broader topic at hand that I kind of think I meant to phrase this more accurately as, I think boredom is really important. And I think boredom drives you to do things that you otherwise wouldn't do. It's what drove me to like try out like movie making when I was like fucking 7 and 8. It was like, oh man, my parents have a JVC camera. I wonder what I can do with this, because I'm so fucking bored. I'm so bored. I'm a child. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I live like super far away from my friends, and I'm too young to really hang out with them independently anyway. So like, what can I do? I was like, and you only had so many video games, that you could like occupy. Sure. It's like, okay, I'm going to play Budokai 2 for like the millionth time. It's like, which is great. I loved it. But like, I mean, like, oh my God, I need something. You're just sitting there and you're looking for things, and you're like making weird. I used to cut out, like, this is going to sound like really sacrilegious, but it's not so bad, because I used to get 2 orders of Game Informer, because we bought one and then we would just get an extra one for free. I don't know what it was, like a serious mix up or somebody wasn't getting their Game Informers. And I remember I would save one, and I would take the other one, and I would look for really cool like art, and I would cut it out. And I made like this big mural on my wall of like, just like cutouts from Game Informers and stuff. And just like little things like that, just like ways to like pass the time, because you were so fucking bored that you ended up doing something like, I don't know, interesting or creative. And I feel like now you're never really bored, because you're always like a second away from something interesting. You pull out your phone, you can like immediately see like what's happening. There's always some scandal. Someone's always getting canceled. There's always something. There's always something to grab your attention. You have every single movie and television show at your fucking disposal if you really want it. Like I remember portable DVD players blowing my mind. I remember that being like, some kid brought a portable DVD player into school in like 2005 or whatever, and I was like, that is amazing.
Yeah, that was such a brief moment in time where those had relevance too, which is that's a very brief moment.
It was like 2005 to 2007 maybe. Like it was like 2 years max that those things were cool, but they were fucking interesting. And it was like, oh my God, you can watch Family Guy in school. Like it was like, that's kind of the thing. And now it's like, you could pull up anything on YouTube instantly, TikTok, Twitter. And I just feel like, I don't know. I wonder if I would even be in the position that I'm in had I had access to all that stuff. Had I not taken the time to, and it sounds kind of like grandpa, and I get it, but like, I wonder if I would have even taken the time to develop skills editing or doing anything really, like writing or doing any of that stuff, if I was just so constantly preoccupied with stuff. And I feel like I probably would have, because I still have the same brain. I still have that brain that's really susceptible to that stuff, like extra, like more so than I think normal people. And I as I'm doing this boxing thing, I've kind of had to take a little bit of a break from, normal content, because there's just no fucking time to really put the amount of TLC. And once it's over, I'll come back swinging, and like I have a bunch of stuff written out. But without that work to do, I can feel myself getting sucked into this shit. Like just like, oh, I'm on Twitter. I had to like delete some of these apps from my phone. I was like, if I'm gonna check Twitter, I'm gonna check it on my computer. If I'm gonna check Instagram, I'm gonna check it on my computer. I'll still get text messages and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's weird. I really do feel like there's something about ADHD that isn't inherently a disorder, and I feel like it's almost like there's medicine that just makes it so you have an okay time dealing with the fact that the world is fucking crazy now. It's like medicine for the world, really.
That's how I feel about my antidepressants.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just kind of here, just kind of, it's everything's the same, but I'm a little more balanced. But everything's still chaos.
It's for coping with the inevitable state of the way things are. I like that perspective, actually. I never thought of it that way before.
Yeah.
That's
Matty,
really interesting.
I want to hear what you have to say, Matty.
Chris has me reflecting quite a bit. I was just listening very intently because, as he was going on about boredom and stuff, I really thought, when was the last time I was bored? And I genuinely don't have an answer. I don't know the last time I was bored. And in fact, I had a conversation with a friend about a month ago, and I got kind of annoyed at him because he's like, man, I'm bored. I'm like, how the fuck are you bored, dude? Is what I said to him. I was like, how could you possibly be bored in today's world? There is always something to do. And Chris touching on that was almost like a awakening of, oh my God, yeah, like there's just so much constantly going on. And I thought I was trying to think like what brought me to YouTube and what brought me to making content. I don't think you intended this more existential topic, but as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, why did I start all this? And I think at the heart of it is boredom, because it does encourage you to find something to enjoy, right? And I don't know if in today's world where I think, while it's crazy and there's so much bad stuff, there's also more stuff to enjoy than ever before too. 100%, that it's very easy to become complacent and just entertain yourself very easily. Like, we brought up just a moment ago, just take out your phone. There's social media, there's YouTube. I think more than anything, what's more important in today's world, and everyone could use this, is dopamine detox. Like,
100%.
Even in brief stints, some people go a little crazy with it, and they can. Some people need it more than others. But for me, my form of detoxing is like, I'm always on, right? I'm working on a game. I'm talking about games or podcasting. I'm on camera a lot. So, I'm using a lot of energy and I'm a lot more active. But then when I'm on my walks, no phone, no music. When I'm in the car, unless it's a longer drive, no music, no radio, no nothing.
Smart.
Like just no stimulus at all. I just try to kind of cut it off, because I found myself naturally doing it is how it started. I would, like, after this show, when I get in my car and I go to drive home, just no radio, no music from Spotify, nothing. And I was just starting to naturally do that because my brain would be so loud almost. The world would feel so loud, yet I'm just alone in my office for like 8 hours, 10 hours a day. And I'm like, why does it feel so intense? And it's like, because I'm just taking in so much. I need a moment where I'm just staring at a road with literally nothing, and nothing's coming in at all. I'm not receiving any information. Nothing is exciting. It's a mundane drive home, and that is what I need right now. And it lets me it takes off the edge at the end of the day. It's very strange, but it's something I recommend to a lot of people is, especially if you love, because we run this nerd-centric network, right? It's when you love games and you love movies and all that stuff, you love being creative. Sometimes the best thing you can do is not, is what I've recognized. I sometimes do my best creative work when I step away for a day or two and come back and it's like this fresh, new, exciting thing.
Definitely.
Like,
Right.
it's like we're
100%.
so constantly simulated that small pocket can reactivate you so much. So Chris, the topic's fantastic because it really does touch on something that in a sense I've been going through, but I think much differently. Like, you know, I think I used to think growing up I had maybe ADHD because I used to take a lot of pride in the fact that I was a super easily distracted kid, like to the point where in 5th grade, I had a shirt that I would wear that literally said easily distracted. And I was so fucking proud of it. Like, I don't know why. I just love being the cool, crazy, zany kid. I wasn't cool, but I just like the idea of that. And I don't like that because I was like embellishing like a potential issue with myself. But, but you know, it's funny because over the years, I feel like I've become more focused. So while it's a different approach from where you're coming from, I sympathize with and understand what you're saying for sure.
No, it's funny that you bring up the dopamine detail because I've been thinking about that specific thing. Like I was thinking, it's like maybe I think I might just want to do like I want to have a week where I don't do anything, like a full week where I'm just like I'm not on the internet, I'm not playing a video game, I'm not watching movies, I'm not listening to music. I want to just like hard cut for like a week where I don't. Maybe probably after the fight. I think like maybe like the week after the fight, I just want to do nothing, like absolutely fuck all.
Yeah,
like
reading is a great way to
I've
found to just sort of like it, you know, because I like reading manga, for example, but you realize even that is like, oh, it's pictures. There's tons of stimuli in these art panels, and it's like, okay, you know, just text words, nothing more.
It's just I find that the I don't know, like when a band that I'm super into like comes out with a new album, like I remember when I was a kid that would be like super exciting, and now it's like, oh, okay, cool. I'll listen to it and I'm like, all right.
Everyone's always doing something.
And it's like, yeah, because it's it's another thing. And it's like, man, it would be nice to just like not hear, because I listen to music every day. I have Spotify blasting constantly, kind of like even sometimes when I'm working, like when I'm in my office, I'll have the television in the living room, just like running something just to feel like things are happening. I think this is part of growing up in the city too. Like where I just like I'm used to noise to the point where like when we moved upstate, it was eerie and horrifying to like go to sleep in abject silence. Matty, we lived in the same place. It's just so quiet. I used to go to sleep to the sound of people like arguing outside of my building, like at the bus stop, and it was so and it was like soothing to me. It was like, oh, I'm going to sleep, but like the world exists. Like like as I go to sleep, the world is still going, and like that's like there's like a weird comforting aspect to that. And then when I moved upstate and it was just pure silence, that's fucking freaky, dude. That's a really jarring change. Like, and I did not like it. And so like ever since I've always needed like, I think it's why I've always gravitated to cities. I find like, even though they're like technically like more dangerous and like, you know, there's like very unpredictable, there's like a comfort in knowing that like, if something goes wrong, I'll know immediately. You know, like I'll know pretty immediately if shit's really dire, I'll know quickly, as opposed to in the sticks where like I might not know for weeks that something's wrong. And you know what's funny? This is like completely is a complete tangent. But like when we moved upstate, I was very young. This is like 2004, 2005. So I was like, can't remember exactly what age I was. Like maybe like 12 or 13, something like that. Maybe 11. And I got really into like Roswell and like alien stuff. Like for some reason, I don't know why. I was just like, it was around the time Destroy All Humans too, also. So like I was just like super into like aliens and like I don't know, like I was like super into it. And then I was like looking at like all these alien abduction stories, and I was like, it's not real, but also like you're a kid, so you can. It's like maybe you know, that's possible. And then when we moved upstate in this complete darkness, this abject silence, one of the first thoughts that went through my head was like, oh my God, if I'm abducted by an alien, no one's gonna know.
Fire
like
in the sky,
no one
baby.
will know.
Fire
Whereas
in
like,
the sky,
because if I was in an apartment in the city, I could at least come back and be like, Mom and Dad, I've been abducted by aliens, and they'll be like, we know the guy across the street and like 5 other people saw, and I won't seem insane,
right? Which
is already this whole line of reasoning is insane. But like I remember that was like a thought process that went through my head. It's like, oh fuck, I don't want to get abducted by an alien up here, man.
All right, Dick. So let's hear from you about this. I have a lot to say about this as well. I'm really eager to see what you have to say.
It's fascinating. Yeah, I give you my nearly antique perspective because, Gen Xers, my generation, were probably the last largely undiagnosed generation for ADHD. And I just think back to those times being in grade school, especially in the 80s, right? Like it was like, I think back to certain people and their various forms of maybe possibly having some form of ADHD, and then just all being mixed together in a classroom and kind of expecting everybody to be on an even keel, not just with intelligence or their intellectual talents, but just, to be able to be in the classroom and not be subjected to hyperactivity and being able to pay attention for 40 minutes at a time and stuff like that. It kind of, my heart goes out a little bit. And also I think about with me, I never really had a hyperactivity problem specifically, or, and I was always, I guess, able to concentrate for long periods of time at a given task. But something I've always had is procrastination, from being a little kid all the way through like right now, this moment. I've always been a procrastinator until like I actually use my procrastination in my animation process, for instance. Like that's part of my pipeline, is like gathering a head of steam by doing all these preemptive moves before I actually animate a scene and stuff like that. So I realize I may even have some sort of level of ADHD. And I don't know if this was BBC World News or if this was on NPR recently, like within the last month. They did a huge story on how prevalent ADHD is. And I think a lot of that is because they've opened it up to, there's different modes or different levels of severity or whatever. So it applies to so many more people than they once realized, that it applies to. And I think I love you guys talking about it centered around boredom, because I do get bored. And I think that plays into my procrastination. Like every night around 11 o'clock, I just put everything away, writing, animating, drawing, whatever. And I pop on Netflix or HBO or Hulu or Retro Crush or whatever. And there's like, despite the media blitz and this eternal sort of fingertips reach to enter every entertainment in the book, like Chris said, I get bored looking for media to watch, TV shows and movies. I'm like, I don't want to watch any of this shit. Then I realized that's a problem, because I should probably just if I'm awake, I could use that time constructively to actually, like, for instance, right now, trying to teach myself 3D, CG animation. It's going to take a lot of time. I should be doing that, but I don't, again, that procrastination. So I do wonder about that. Even with my generation, I think back to specific people, and it's strange. Like, Kyle, you remember my friend Gene, right? He was a little bit of a wild man. Yeah, I went to college with him and then worked with him early on in my career. Great animator. Yeah, No Balls. Gene No Balls McGuckin. Yeah. He was a really talented dude, but he was a little bit out of his mind. Like he definitely was that hyperactive dude. He was a little weird in social situations when he was younger and stuff like that. But that guy could sit down and traditionally animate a scene and flip the pages for 16, 18 hours at a time. Like he did have the ability to sit at a task. So that's another thing with ADHD, is the complexity of it and how it afflicts or affects each individual person. There seems to be so many different forms of this and that's a question mark for me. And I think it's a big question block for me, because my generation it was like the last generation where it just went unchecked, largely unchecked. I think my generation to like our younger sister, who's a couple of years younger than me, were the first generation to go on prescription drugs for it. But most of them probably didn't until they may have realized in adulthood that they may needed a leg up, to get this thing reined in or whatever. Well, so that's really, it's fascinating, because there's definitely kids I grew up with that were on what we initially realized, I guess, in the 80s or 90s about what that spectrum would encompass. But I think it's so many more people than that.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you, Colin?
Yeah, this speaks to me so deeply, because like I said, I've really had like a professional for the first time tell me like, you obviously have ADD. Yeah, like basically like that. Like that's not even. He's like, it doesn't even really seem like your problem, but that's obviously a thing you have. We did some tests and all this kind of stuff, I guess, to reaffirm that. And I expressed to him that I was really afraid. Like, I'm not even interested in trying to medicate that because I feel like part of it is my creative reality as well. I don't want to temper that. Yeah. But I also have seen, Adderall just absolutely obliterate people that I know, and, because you like anything, you can abuse it. Like a meteor out of the sky, just absolutely obliterate people and becomes this thing that's really addictive. And I know myself well enough to know that I love getting things done and love being kind of like a task oriented person. So being able to just engineer that would be so bad. I know I would abuse it, and it would just not become a good thing for me. So instead, I really try to focus on my mood, my depression, and my anxiety, and the things that I can control. What I do understand is that, and I understand this the more and more I get older, and I'm open to talking about it because it is what it is, and I think it's important to use your platform for some, like, not only positivity but just reality. Is that, like, I'm a pretty deeply broken person. Like, there's a lot of things that I think are probably fucked up about me. My parents got divorced when I was 7. I was all over the place. I didn't have any, I'm used to doing these 2 different dueling realities and all the different ways that bends and morphs a mind that's still growing. And I don't think until I was older, I'm 38 now. It wasn't until I was in literally my mid 30s that I ever reflected on any of it. Like it was literally just moments and things that happened, but I never thought about why I'm the way I am, and like how I got to this place. And I say that because the reality is that when I was a kid, I was actually very focused. I did really well in school. I played hockey all year. I played my video games and did this. I had friendships. I played music. And I actually really enjoyed segmenting my life up. I looked forward to being like, this is the time to play toys. This is the time for video games. This is the time to read a book. And I was very oriented like that. And I think what I recognize is my own susceptibility to the changes that happened all around us, which is why I'm so focused and so interested in a nostalgic and in both like an almost anthropological sense, the 90s, because I feel like it's a very weird space when everything was about to go off, when all the different ingredients joined, but they weren't quite melding together yet. And what ended up exploding into our reality is a phone like this. And it's not this per se, but everything that comes along with it, the way we buy things, the way we interact, even order delivery, the way we talk to each other. And there's a deep interconnectivity that puts me off, which is why I keep my phone in silent mode. And I tell people, and I mean it, do not call me. If you text me, don't expect to hear from me immediately. I don't even see your text sometimes because I look at my phone sometimes and there's literally 40 texts. I'm like, I haven't looked at it in so long.
Oh my God. That breaks my brain when I see it.
Yeah.
I hate that. Like I've said this to friends jokingly, but I also think I kind of mean it in some way, where it's like, if we had like a post-apocalyptic scenario and like just the grid went down and there was no electricity, I think part of me would be so relieved to never have to answer an email again. Like, actually, sincerely, like I fucking hate that. It's weird because like I remember specifically, like, because I can be very focused too, like, but I can only be focused on the things that I really, really like, am really, really like super genuinely passionate and interested in. I can sit and write a video. When I'm done writing it, I can go film it. When I'm done filming, I can go edit until I'm literally out of gas, until I'm like losing consciousness. And then I'll wake up and then I'll finish it because so much of it is already done. Mm-hmm. But if I don't catch that spark, it's done. It's dead in the water. Like the shit's not getting done because I didn't ride the wave to its completion. And then I wake up the next day. Like if I write and then all right, I finished writing it. I'll film it tomorrow. Then I'll look at the script tomorrow and I'll be like, that doesn't feel right. And then I'll rewrite it and then I'll rewrite it and then I'll rewrite it and then I'll rewrite it. And then it just doesn't get done. But like, and I can do that. I can sit and work for 20 hours straight on one specific thing. But if I get an email, it's over. Like I'm not responding to the email in all likelihood. Yeah, well, there's like a million of them and I'm sick of it.
Well, I must admit to what you're saying. is that I am no longer the focused person that I once was. Like, I guess that's what I've accepted, is that I'm broken in this way. Like, whatever happened at some point over time and the introduction of this combination of things that had been percolating for a while but hadn't come together in quite this unholy alliance, it's broken me. And the way that I think that it's like kind of a parallel in society to food. Like, everyone's kind of getting fat, right? You have to really try to not be overweight in some way as you get older and older, because you're just inundated with food, easy food, bad food for you, all these kinds of things. And it takes some sort of effort. It's actually a modern problem that is totally unrelatable. Not only because of scarcity back in the day, but because you couldn't even eat enough processed food. Like, Mrs. Patmore in Downton Abbey is like overweight, like the cook, but she's not that big, because like, how big are you going to get eating meat and porridge and all this stuff and beer? Like, there's only so much you can do. Or like the kindly red-cheeked barkeep, right? Like, that's a far cry from what obesity is today. And I feel the same way about attention deficit, where you can say whatever you want about the way people were, like my friends and our friends in the 80s and 90s, and my friends that took Ritalin and all these different things, right? And but they would be doomed today. Doomed. And I think that I don't think that I would be, my academic trajectory very good. Everything was really good. But I think that if I was coming up in this era, I'm not so sure. I get it. It's fucking nuts. You can take this phone. We don't even know why we call it a phone. We have to figure out a new name for it. But you could take this device and know anything that has ever been. Yeah, anything that has ever been can be done on this phone. That's just unfathomable. If I handed this to Thomas Jefferson, he would be one of the smartest people of his era. You would have to spend months explaining everything about like how it's impossible.
I remember seeing that transformation in real time too. Like, because my high school was, when I went to high school, it was 2007 to 2011. I've told the story before, but like, when I got into high school in 2007 as a freshman, I had like maybe like 2 friends with phones, and it was like, they were flip phones and they could only call. Like, it was like no text.
Yeah.
And then by the time we graduated, everybody had like a microcomputer.
Yeah.
And it was kind of nuts. It was like a crazy time to go to school. Like, because I remember like in my last year, I remember taking these finals, and I remember just thinking like, I could just Google the answers to this, can't I? And I did. And I fucking, whatever. I don't care. I didn't want to be a fucking earth scientist. But
it's true.
But yeah, I remember specifically like Googling all the answers. I remember specifically Googling all the answers to my earth science final and just like feeling like, wow, like they have no idea how to deal with this.
No.
Because the teachers aren't fucking. Yeah, that was so bad. It was so shitty. Igneous rocks. All right.
Metamorphic.
Sedimentary knowledge.
Oh yeah, you guys. Dagan, I forgot. We are all peas in a pod. They lived in New York, so they were all subjected to regents.
Yeah.
See, this is very. We have never discussed this before.
No, never.
Because that's something we all share through time. Because we all lived and were born and raised in New York, is we all took the regents.
Is it still a thing now today?
It was for me. I mean, it was for me, and I'm sure it was for Matty. We were in the same. In
the Earth Science Regents. I actually just found my Earth Science Study Regents book that I bought for it in 1998. I guess it was when I took it.
And the purpose of the Regents was to give you a leg up if you decide to go to a state or city school, right? That was the whole thing. It was like a plus. It was like diploma plus if you were going to go to school.
Right, but you needed it to graduate. Like, they wouldn't acknowledge you if you didn't have a certain amount of Regents credits. Like, I remember you had to get like sequence 1, sequence 2, the maths, Earth Science, biology, chemistry, I think US history, Euro history. Like, your French one. I did French or Spanish, whatever you did.
Yeah.
And I rember you had to pass them. Like, it wasn't an option.
Yeah. No, you have to. Yeah.
If you took a class and you had a Regents for it, you had to pass it. Like, there was no, like, you couldn't fail. If you failed it, I think you just didn't graduate.
I took the sequence. No, you did, because I took the sequence 2. Sequence 2 is 10th grade math. You could take it beginning in 9th grade. I took sequence 2 in 12th grade, and I took
So did I.
And I took the Regents that year, and we all straight up cheated on it. I mean, I'll be straight up honest with you. Like, I remember us all like doing it in a group. in class.
Did you really? How did you get
There's
away
nothing
with?
better than the operation.
No,
where,
because
like, everyone gets in on the cheating. Oh, man.
I think
It's something fucking magnificent, man. When everyone's got the answers and you just all got a plan going into the test, it's great.
No, it's like, dude, I'm not proud of it or whatever, but that math class was a joke because I think what they realized was, I'm not going to say the teacher's name. He actually passed away, but he was a really nice guy. He was really obviously hands off, didn't give a fuck. Right. And we were all in 12th grade and it was all like the artists and like the nerdy kids and like, or not nerdy kids. I shouldn't say that. Like the artists and the guys who would draw anime and Mike Pope listening to fucking Incubus in the corner and all that kind of shit. And so that was us. And like, I think they understood like, this is all you need. Like, you just need to get through this and you're not good, because I had the same experience at Northeastern. Like straight up. And that's a real school. That's a really great college.
Highly regarded school. Yeah.
And I was on a BA track. So I had to take like 2 science/math classes. And the math class I was in was like all of the history majors, all of the language majors, like all these random people just doing it together. Being like, here, you guys do this in a group of 6. And I met some awesome people in that class. That's actually a really memorable class for me because it was so interactive and funny that way. But it was a total wink and a nod being like, we know, even at this school, that you don't really need to know pre-calculus. We also know that you're never going to understand it. You, Colin Moriarty, never. You are never going to understand it. So just do it with someone who does and get the fuck out of here.
The thing for me was just like, you're going to, if I'm, look, I knew from a very early age what I wanted to do. Like I knew it's like, I wanted to do film. I wanted to do video. I wanted to like, maybe like be a comedian or something. I'm not going to need most of this. Sure. And so like when I was sitting like in earth science class and it was like, well, you can't graduate if you don't pass this earth science final. It's like, I have no moral hangups about cheating on this at all. No, I think it's almost immoral that you're withholding graduation from me because I don't know the specific thing that I will not, like, I have never needed to distinguish what a fucking sedimentary rock is in my entire fucking life. Like, not once. I've barely even needed anything past algebra, quite frankly, math-wise. Like, so, imaginary numbers and the Pythagorean theorem. It's like, dude, when? Oh, yeah.
I always said my mind went to concrete when the numbers were removed from the equations and it was just like letters. And I was like, which is basic pre-algebra and algebra, I think. And I was just like, I don't know about this.
I don't know where my kids came from because they just get it.
I don't care.
I have no idea.
I never gave a fuck. And you guys can relate to this, like in New York, because it's so funny. We all went there. My experience was totally schizophrenic because you guys know basically you could take like on your level, above your level, or you can be below your level, right? Sure. So in history, I was an AP level, an English AP level, and honors level when you would get to have those things. Yeah. With sciences, I was on the level, right? And then with math, I was like in 2nd grade still. It was, I don't think they had any idea what they were supposed to do with me.
It's funny you say that because I was extremely unambitious at school. It's like probably one of my low key regrets. Like I kind of, it sounds like me and Chris had the same mindset where I very much have my mind made up of, I don't want any of this. Like I don't want to learn about rocks or whatever. But I think it was to a point of stubbornness that was almost self-destructive at one stretch until I kind of had like a wake up call in like junior year. But like I definitely had that writing history kind of brain. They always say like, what are there 2 types of brains? Like
right brain,
the math
left brain.
Science brain or the history and writing brain. And those are the 2 classes I just knew I liked because I naturally excelled at them. It didn't require a ton of additional effort. So I just knew that's more what I was geared towards. And that's what led me to, I was originally going to go to school for, I put in quotes, informative writing, journalism and all that stuff before this all happened. Right. So I guess to Chris's original subject, like it's funny that writing was something that always was a thing that, what'd you say, Chris, that like when you're like writing a script for a project, it'll like, you'll spend like 20 hours on something. But if like that one distraction comes in. And so like, I personally can't write unless I have like music or it's gotta be instrumental. Like if it's got lyrics, fucks me up.
Oh, exactly.
Or if I put on white noise, I use a white noise machine now. Like if I don't want music, I just want to have like
room tone.
I'd say like a train with a thunderstorm. Like that's what I'll do now. It's I'll throw it on. It helps me
That's
focus,
cool.
but like it can. Yeah, I recommend it. It's called the Hatch. It's this like alarm clock that's also a white noise machine. It's fantastic.
There's a bunch of aids like that on YouTube, like just constant live streams of like I found this one live stream of just like a windowsill in like looking outside of a window in Manhattan or whatever, and it's just like the diegetic sound.
Yeah,
and like I put that on sometimes, and it's like I still need that initial spark. Like if it's like, oh, that's a good idea, I'm gonna start writing, and then like, but I still need that spark, and I definitely need like some sort of music going. Like I usually have like video game soundtracks or you know, like you said, like just white noise of some kind.
Yeah, it's got to be a little something of a spark at the start, because that's one of my toughest things, is that kind of like what Dagan said, that head of steam getting going, because like once I get going, I'm off to the races. But like for me, I'm writing the script for my game, and like that takes, especially for the type of game I'm trying to write, it takes a ton of effort, and you have to consider so many different avenues with it. It's like, okay, this is a big task. I can't just kind of waltz into this. I have to really cook like kind of get the ingredients ready for this meal I'm going to cook. And yeah, man, it's just it's funny how I guess all of it really interconnects back to school with you know, where things came naturally. Because like I remember I knew I had a thing for writing. Sorry if this is kind of off topic, but I knew I had a thing for writing if when I was I had to write papers for my friends. A lot of my friends had issues writing for their classes, and they would ask me like, can you do my paper for me? And I would, because the reason they would ask me to do it is because I would do it quick, and they would get a good grade on it. They would at least get a B. It's funny. There was one time I did, though, for my friend, a paper in college. I was like, this is an easy A. Like, I fucking killed this one. He got a C. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, I was like, my bad. That was the only time that happened, was I got one C and multiple A's, couple B pluses here and there, but like I was mostly consistent. But yeah, I got my friend a C, and you know, I would just do it to be a good guy. But that was when I knew there was at least something there. And it kind of goes back to that boredom thing of like, as long as I didn't have to put in the extra effort at school, I would just kind of ride the hot hand, if you will. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm good at writing and history. Like, I'm just gonna go pursue that so I can like go spend my time elsewhere. It was this weird inefficiency that was kind of efficient too.
Yeah. I was very similar. Like where I excelled at like history and writing and art. Like back then I could draw. Like I used to be able to draw. I've been trying to draw again lately. Like I've been trying to get into the practice of like doodling again, because like I feel like I wish I had stuck with it. I wish I had stuck with that a little bit more.
I think I did. Yeah.
I think I did used to have a pretty good idea, and then I don't know, I fell off it. But
just keep going. Just do it every day for 5 minutes. You'll be back in the saddle. You'll have an idea. Like use your ideas as inspiration and just have fun with it. Don't even be critical of it, you know?
Oh yeah. I doodled a little Tetris cartoon that I was pretty proud of.
I saw that
too.
It was really good. I mean, that's so much better than anything I could ever do. I could totally relate to the idea of being discouraged by anything I didn't have a natural predilection towards. Like I'm a pretty athletic person, so I took to sports pretty easily. Like I could pick them up and play them and understand them. But when it came to drawing, like I did put some effort into. I wanted to be like Dagan so badly when I was a kid, right? I wanted to draw, and you have this like really talented dude who Dagan was drawing anime at the time, basically, and then evolved from that point. I couldn't draw shit. I mean, if you gave me a pen and paper right now and told me to draw. I mean, actually, there are funny episodes of Knockback where Dagan tells me to draw things.
Oh, those were
and I present them, and I think we signed them and gave them away, and they're awful, like absolutely awful.
That's awesome.
That's like me trying to play an instrument. You know what I mean? As much as I admire that ability, I can't. I would love to be able to pick up a guitar. Like it's just not my natural inclination. It would take so much work, and I'm just too easily discouraged to even go there. You know, so I get it.
It's annoying though. It's annoying though because it's annoying being vaguely proficient at all of these things without being like incredible at any of them. You know what I mean? Like I can draw kind of, and I can play guitar kind of, and I can sing kind of, and I can do all this shit kind of. But like I don't have this like I'm not like a Hendrix at any of them. You know what I mean? That bugs me.
Frustration too. I feel the same way. Like my wife, like Helene could not pick up a paintbrush. Literally, she's the type of artist who just could go without doing anything for 2 years, pick it up. She's at the exact point where she left off or better. It doesn't even make any sense. She's that prolific where if I stop drawing for a week, like I have to get back into where I was at. And it's not just artistic talent, it's also the creativity and the mindset.
Yeah.
So that consistency, especially for a procrastinator like myself, like that's really what pays off, is just staying on top of myself with that. You know what I mean? Because I lose a step. You know, for the shortest period of time, I'll lose a step. So it is frustrating.
Yeah. I was when I was doodling the other night, I was with some artist friends of mine because it was like, hey, you should draw again. And I was like, and I was watching him draw, and it's so discouraging watching these people because like he draws the skull and then the head around it. And I'm just like, I don't even know how the fuck that is so insane to me.
He knows,
and it looks
anatomy.
amazing. He's an amazing. He's like one of the most incredible artists I've ever seen. But like, just the fact that I've never seen that process, and just seeing that alone was like, Jesus Christ. I can't, like, you know what? I don't know,
real
man.
draftsman. That's what's so bad about social media. It could be so we talk about that. Like it could be so discouraging.
That's the thing too. It's like, because you're always seeing like the people who are like absolutely amazing at this one subset of thing that you do, and it's like, that is interesting. I hadn't thought about that either. Just like how social media almost like kind of like recalibrates your idea of what the overall talent pool is.
Yeah.
Where it's like you see like one, like, I don't know, like Asian child doing like a perfect like a symphony on like on one piano with like one hand or whatever, and you're like, oh goddamn, I shouldn't even bother with this if this fucking child is gonna showboat me. But it's like, that's like one kid out of like millions of people.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, that's where it gets harmful. And just remember, those people are sharing their best stuff. Like you got to kind of reintroduce the argument, the counter argument. Like, you know, they're sharing their best stuff on their best day. They're not showing their crappy work. So that's where I keep the motivation going. It's just like those little reminders of, you know, there's a space for me too. That's what everybody's got to remember. And it comes down to enjoyment. What do you enjoy? Do you really want to pursue this thing because there's a real passion and enjoyment, something that gives you, you know, palpable joy? Just do it. You know, I have to take my own advice often, but
Can I speak to something real quick before we exit this topic? I wanted to talk about this. Dagan, are you still connected, by the way?
Yeah.
Does it show you as green? All right.
Yep.
I'm just gonna make note. I just want to make sure. 126.
I do love before you go into your segue,
please.
I do love that the ADHD topic is the most all over the place.
I was just thinking the same thing. That's so funny. That's so funny.
I love
that's
that.
fantastic.
Great minds.
Awesome.
So I was thinking about this fantasy of disconnection, and there's a really powerful Black Mirror episode I like where it's about how all these people have implants, and it's not necessarily about this, but that one of the features of it is that all of them have these implants except for one person. I don't know if you guys know what the one I'm talking about, and they're like at a dinner party.
So, yeah.
And one person doesn't have any of these modifications, and she's kind of missing out. And she's out and not really part of the symbionts of the situation. And I think about that a lot with technology and this fantasy I have of disconnecting. Because when I think about the last time I truly disconnected from the internet, I know exactly when it was. It was when my friend Mike Pope got married in September of 2015. He got married in Cornwall, Connecticut, which is in like the middle of absolutely nowhere. And we got no reception there at all. And there was no Wi-Fi. There was nothing. So for 3 days, I was just offline. And I remember it gave me like agita the first day and a half or so. And then I actually was kind of like, this is kind of awesome. And when we were driving back in the civilization, and my phone picked up and I got all the bling text messages and all the things that were missing, I was kind of disappointed. And it just goes to show my own weakness, my own inability to get away from it. You know, I bring up my friend Dave Rubin sometimes on the show, and one thing he does that I actually respect, and I don't know how he does it, and he really does do it, is every August he just goes away
for a month.
He doesn't use a phone or go on the internet or watch TV or listen to the news or anything. And the big thing is that when he comes back, he often has someone come and tell him everything that's happened, like catch him up on all the crazy shit that's happened, because he gets away for an entire month without doing anything.
Wow.
And I know this is a fact personally because you can't get in touch with him during that time, but I also helped watch something at his house or whatever during that time. And so it's the real deal. And I really respect and appreciate that. And I wish I had that kind of gumption, but I just don't. And I think a lot of it is because I feel like I'd be missing out. I'm such a news person. I love knowing when things are happening. And I like a little bit of the schadenfreude, like Chris was saying, like someone's always getting canceled. Like I don't participate in anything, but I certainly watch it. You know, I love I've really fallen in love with Reddit. I've really fallen in love with, although Reddit is, the people on Reddit are insufferable, but the content is great. YouTube is obviously just a never ending font of things. I mean, I need it. I can't even begin to.
Terrible.
Dude, I'm watching people clean carpets. I'm literally watching a dude clean a carpet, and then I'm watching an episode of 48 Hours, and then I'm watching Red Letter Media, and then I'm watching Antiques Roadshow, and then I'm watching the 600 Pound Live. You know, I don't need anything else. I really don't need anything.
No.
And I don't think the YouTube algorithm has any idea what to do. Like it doesn't, it recommends me some of the weirdest shit because I think it just doesn't understand what it is I'm trying to do. But I wanted to speak to that fantasy of disconnection and the idea, like Chris, you were saying, and I know other people do this, like taking Twitter off your phone and stuff. Like, I don't think I'm even capable of doing that because I just feel like I would. So then I'm just going to figure out a way to be on my laptop. You know, like I noticed this lack of attention even when I'm playing video games. And I think our audience speaks back to us about some of this stuff. Like I make fun of the audience, but I'm really disturbed in some of the ways it comes out in the audience. Like these people listening to the podcast at 1.5, 2 times, 2.5 times speed. Like lots and lots of people. Like I think that's
really?
That they really do. And I think that's insane. That's just as insane as the insane shit I'm admitting to you today. You guys also need to admit it. that it's absolute it's psychopathy. And the one thing I'm looking forward to, because I know I can get away a little bit, is when the pool is open in the backyard again, which will be in a couple months. Because I was actually reading books in the summer. I was floating around the pool, smoking a joint, reading a book, having a beer, hanging out with Micah, just hanging out with the dogs, and just disconnected for a few hours at a time. And that's about as much as I can hope for. But when I'm just in my element like this, when there's just my drum kit and there's my TVs and my video games and all that, I don't know, man. And I'm going to jump around from one thing to the next. And I recognize that I'm severely broken by the circumstances. And I recognize that it was not always like that. No way. So at some point I reached my threshold, and that's why I'm not so judgmental about other people having reached and surpassed their threshold, especially if they're younger. Because nothing like this existed when I was 10 or 12 or 15. It was not even I had a computer in my room on dial-up internet in the late 90s, and that was a huge deal. I mean, and I couldn't even imagine needing anything else.
That was the beginning. Yeah. All three of you guys. See, I don't envy you guys. I admire you guys are all so good at podcasting. I'm sitting on this amazing panel, but all three of you guys and Dave Rubin, right? And many others, you guys rely on social media and being plugged in for your livelihoods. You know what I mean? So how much, that must be another argument that you kind of go back and forth with yourself in your minds. It's like, how long can I really detach? Like I kind of rely on my audience and the interaction and being plugged into what's going on with Xbox and Sony. So that's another thing too that makes it difficult for you guys. You know, your generation, specifically you three, because you guys are among the people that are really good at what you do and have bona fide audiences and all of that. That's the thing with my kids. My kids are younger than you guys, but that's the thing. I envy them because they have this computer in their pocket and they could use it. You know, they have all the knowledge at their fingertips, but at the same time, and they do really well in school. We're very grateful for that. I don't know where that maturity came from because Helene and I were not good students, you know. So they fell, thank God the apples fell a little further from the tree. But they also have to sidestep all of the distraction. And they do, you know, at least in order to be, you know, successful at their activities and their scholastic pursuits. So, you know, that's something with the younger generation, like, we grew up without it, so I feel like the Gen Xers, you know, I get inundated with YouTube. I have a love affair with it too, but you know, I could detach from it. But you guys, the younger generation, you know, especially you guys that rely on it, you know, for your jobs. So that's another consideration too, and that's not lost on me. You know, that's not lost on me. I think you guys, it must be hard to find that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one. Sorry, Colin.
No, please go ahead, man.
I was going to say, it's one of the reasons I actually started working on my own game is I there's like this voice in my head that says like, you should have something that's not so wholeheartedly dependent on just the internet as a source of income. Like the business side of me, like there's a whole creative part of it, but the business side of my head's like, what if YouTube went away? Which I don't think it will, but like, what if something happened the last day? Like that kind of what if syndrome is almost a huge motivator to me, but it's exactly what you're saying, which is like, I recognize that, my livelihood is so online that I almost need this offline thing that could persist if what makes most of my money were to go away. So it's funny you bring all that up.
No, it's a great point. I mean, and yeah, the fear of being disconnected, like when you're the production company, it's not like you're on a TV show and you can just show up and you film your episodes and then you go away for a little while and then you come back or whatever. You have to kind of be more persistent. It's a different kind of, there's going to be a lot of people breaking down, I think, over time. And I just accept my own personal weaknesses. And with like something like Adderall, I know that Adderall would be bad for me. Like, I know that if you're trying to tell me that I can take something and have the incredible focus I used to have in this world, that's a power that seems too much to me. And I respect that people need and want that. And I love that. And I think that's awesome. But I recognize my own weakness with that. I don't think it's a good idea, because I think that my like anxiety meds and antidepressants I think that's about as far as I need to take it. And I would even like to get off of those one day, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that it's been described to me is that it's best as kind of like a recalibrative tool. Like if you don't have it, like I don't really have an addictive personality at all. Like I remember like I was on like when Colin and I went to the same psychiatrist, he put me on Xanax. Put me on Xanax, and that helped a little bit. But I remember I ran out of Xanax. I was taking a lot of Xanax for like a hot like 2 months or whatever, and then I ran out, and I was like, all right. Like it didn't really like it's whatever. I think for me it's just like I want to at least try it to see like what it would like if it would help, and if it would, just knowing that those pathways can be reconnected again, just like understanding like it's important when you're taking these types of medications to really pay attention to your thought processes and pay attention to your cognitive process while you're on them, because the medicine doesn't make that real. It just makes it easier to make those connections. And so if you understand what that feels like internally, you can replicate that without the medicine. Like, as long as you just understand how to think and where to put your energy, it helps as a recalibrative tool, I think. But it's like anything else, or it's like you can definitely get addicted to anything. Yeah, I don't know. I just know that I don't know. With like Dagan was saying, like procrastination is like a big problem. Like it's a big problem for me. I procrastinate almost religiously. And I think it's largely because I think I get like a really big dopamine rush from like cramming a lot in at the end. Like where it's like, and I also just feel like there's like a pressure there that like ignites something where it's like, oh, I do like really good work sincerely. Like if I'm down to the wire, I don't know why. But that's still like, that works creatively sometimes, and that works in certain things. But, ideally for certain like business things or just like things that aren't so, gray, a little bit more black and white, a little bit more rigid, that kind of thing doesn't really help. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. My procrastinative edge is tempered by my OCD. Like I make my mental illnesses work in tandem so that at least one of them cancels the other out.
Smart.
That's what makes me.
It's like Pokémon.
Right. Exactly. Like my need for financial security and like my desire to have all my I's dotted and T's crossed and be on the up and up in all these different ways is just so overriding that if I don't take care of that, even though I don't want to, I know it's going to be even worse. And that's why I do it. It's literally that simple. It's literally that simple.
See, I'm almost the opposite, where it's like I almost resent being too comfortable.
Wow.
In some way, like there's a complacency, and then there's a complacency in comfortability. And when I'm like, it's like, oh, I'm really comfortable, I can like kind of coast by, I can do podcasts or whatever. And I think this also like leads to like, I mean, this is getting a lot deeper than I anticipated. But like, I think there's like a level of like self-sabotage in there as well. Like it's not intentional, but I do think it's there. Just like you need. Because when I was coming up and I was living out here in LA and I had like no money and I was like couch surfing and I was like really struggling. I remember that being like a really exciting and really fun time. Mm-hmm. Even though it was super hard, there was a fire that like I really loved. And I don't know, it's just kind of gone when you're doing well. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's really a brain training thing. I got to like reorganize how I think
You're
about it.
almost like what now? Almost.
Yeah, it's like
right?
what now? It's like what, like I don't know, like what. And I was thinking like, man, I remember when I started YouTube, and I was thinking like, man, it would be really cool to one day be able to afford like a comfortable lifestyle doing YouTube. And I thought that would happen like maybe when I was 35.
Wow.
I thought I was going to be struggling for years.
Wow.
And I was almost excited about that. And then like it kind of immediately like went well. And I was like, oh fuck, what do I do? And I was thinking like, I remember just thinking like, I don't know, what do I do? Like I make an album? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just genuinely like thinking like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Because I'm already like at a point where like, I'm already where I thought it would take me years to be.
That's incredible.
So it's, I mean, it's cool in some way because it means like, hey, I did my job right and well. But also it's like, fuck, I gotta, I don't know. There's like ironically, like what we were talking about before, there is a boredom there in some way. It's a little bit more high level and it's a little bit less like superficial as far as like, oh, what movie do I watch? Or like, oh, there's so much to play and do. But like almost like a fulfillment boredom in some way.
Yeah. And the hunger feeds the creativity. You know,
right.
You see that with your favorite artists, you know, name a director, name a musician, you know, you could see that sometimes. It's like
1,000,000%. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not as good as they were when they were coming up or striving for, you know, getting there and all of that. So, you know, but I like what you said too, Kyle, about just kind of trying to avoid my procrastination causes anxiety and that's not good for me. So it would be better for me in one way, at least.
Yeah.
My creativity comes out, but it also makes me anxious to wait till the last minute. Like it would be better for my mental condition if I just started earlier on things and chipped away. But it's just not the process that I naturally, you know, kind of attached myself to. So it's like training myself to, you know, start earlier and take, you know, chip away at things and take baby steps. And yeah, so it's interesting.
Yeah. Chris, you're also resonating with me just in the sense that I recognize that hungry Colin is gone. Like, you know, because I don't recognize, and by the way, that hungry Colin has been gone for a long time. Like it's not, I was hungry when I started this company, but I'm talking about the couch surfing, no money, begging your parents to fucking fly you home, eating ramen, sleeping on floors. Like,
yeah.
And the reason I know that Colin is dead is because I don't recognize him. Like, it's like, I remember him, but it's like, you did what? Man, you were fucking crazy. And I realized that in some way, like comfort has instilled itself into my life in a way that has removed that very specific energy that I had then that made me who I was. But I don't necessarily feel bad about it because that's just a piece of the momentum. I have inertia now. I needed like that explosion first to push myself. And so I feel like I got that, but I recognize that that's why I'm very silent with Lily Mo. Like I haven't written something since Perils at all. Like I wrote the script for the role-playing game, or basically the outline for the role-playing game that's being written by someone else. And I can rewrite and do and tweak whatever I want, but I know that I'm not going to do anything until the game is totally almost content complete. And then I'm going to go in and start changing shit. Because I don't have that same spark and energy anymore because my focus really is on much more of the business of Last Stand and just kind of the stress of everyone. It's a lot. I think there's some people out there that hopefully can understand this, like having people really rely on you for like a big portion or maybe even all of their money. So like someone like Dustin, who's like works for us full time, or these guys who make a good living just as freelancers or whatever. That's a lot of pressure. And I take it very seriously.
I'm in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
I employ people. I totally get it. Like
it's horrifying.
I've started doing like more ad deals and stuff just because I need to have that guaranteed money without compromising any of my morals, by the way. But like to have that guaranteed income of like, okay, I can't not take care of people. Like I need to make sure everyone's doing okay. Like I totally hear you on that.
Yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, it's so with all of that, like, so yeah, I just try to stay focused on what I can, but I realize my own shortcomings right now. And what maybe Chris, what you were saying is true. Like once I can deal with the depression and anxiety and maybe nip that in the bud, it's a weird thing to nip in the bud, but maybe you can nip that depression in the bud, and then segue like my whole modality over to dealing with this other problem, you know, whether it is with like medication or just like this temporary thing, and like choosing, because I'm already on an addictive substance in Adderall, or not Adderall, in Ativan, right? Like, I don't know that I'm addicted to it, but I would know if I stopped taking it. And so it's like, man, I just need.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, I just don't want to become another statistic, you know?
Yeah, well, also there's, I mean, we can move on after this, but like, I think, just generally, like, this is either a problem for you or it's not. I really do think, like, this goes back to how I started this conversation in the first place, which is like, there's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with that type of brain, right? It's, you know, it does what it's supposed to do, and it's very good at very specific things. And it's probably like, you know, I owe everything I have to the fact that like I have that specific problem. Like, otherwise I wouldn't have been so weirdly obsessed with YouTube at its inception enough to like really like hammer that nail for 7 years, making no money until it worked out. You know, that's a crazy obsession, and it would be stupid to most people. In fact, most people were being like, "What are you doing? Like, like, why are you doing this? Like, go, like, I don't know, be a receptionist or like an accountant or something." My parents were like, "Go into radiology or something." And I was like, wow. "Oh my God." And I was like, and I thought about it, but I was like, no, man, there's like, I don't know, there's something here. And I also know I would be fucking miserable. So it's like, I fucked around and I did it. And then my parents still didn't believe me until I was like, "Is this a real job?" I was like, "Listen, I had to buy them like a really fucking nice, like the nicest TV they've ever fucking seen." Like I went out, I bought a fucking stupid nice TV, and I came back home and I was like, "This isn't even like a dent. Have it. Merry Christmas." And they were like, "Oh, okay." Okay.
Then they got
all right. You make it. All right. It's a job. But you know, I think like, look, if you've been having this internal debate with yourself, it's like, do I have ADHD? Do I have this? Do I have that? Really think about what aspects of it are benefiting you, what aspects of it are making it hard for you, and if things that make it hard for you outweigh the benefits, then I would say like maybe like look into it, see what you can do. Because sometimes this brain is like really good for certain people and in certain fields and in certain things. But like I know in my field where like I have to be online, I have to pay attention to the fucking news, I have to have Twitter, I have to be on these social media platforms. It's not fucking great. It's not great. And it was a lot easier years ago when I didn't have to worry about all this shit, but I do now. And it's something that I've decided that I need to rein in and figure out for myself. But that's not, for sure, you know, Adderall's not the thing for everybody. And even treatment's not the thing for everybody. I have a couple people in my family who absolutely have ADHD, but they're not online at all. And they're totally fucking happy. They're totally fine. And I think that's kind of what got me thinking about this in the first place. It was like, damn, I really think the internet and just like social media and all this stuff is really what's wrong. It's not the brain. It's not even the disorder, which I hesitate to even say is a disorder. It's just the fact that the space that we inhabit is just so incompatible with that brain.
Yeah, we live in Cyberpunk 2077. What the fuck do you expect?
I love that.
It's
true.
Yeah, very well said.
Sorry for dominating this entire fucking.
Well said.
No, I don't care. This is great. People are going to love this. All right, Matty, let's go on to you, my friend, and hear about your topic this week. I'm excited to talk about this one.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I when I was telling Mike I was going to come on, because there was originally a period of uncertainty because we were pending on like, is there going to be a Starfield showcase announcement or not? Because that would kind of make or break the rest of my work week. But as I was pending my decision, I was like, okay, what topic do I want to have ready? Because I'm like you, Colin. I'm very organic with my topic decision because I feel like that brings that element to the show of like, let's just go fucking nuts, right? So I was, just looking around my room and I decided trading cards was the route I wish to go here. So I have always loved trading cards since I was a kid. And I think, funny enough, a lot of this top podcast has been about the 90s and growing up during that era. And that's when Pokemon was first a thing. And it's become, by the way, a business model for people buying and selling Pokemon cards and whatnot. And, right now what I've been doing is I go on like eBay or Mercari and I will buy loose cards. I'll open packs myself, and I've really gotten into grading cards, like, looking at them, inspecting, the holo, seeing if there's any scratches on it, checking the corners, checking the borders, making sure there's, is one side fat or not. And it's almost like a fun, obsessive little hobby that doesn't dominate a ton of your time, but it's really enjoyable. And when you submit your cards, there's that. For those who don't know, there's this service called PSA that you'll take a bundle of your cards, put them in a box, and ship it to them. And it's about, depending on what offer they're doing, like right now it's $15 per card to grade. And the idea is if you get a PSA 10, the highest grade, your card will multiply in value by like 5. It's insane. Wow. Yeah, it'll jump. Sometimes way more than that. Like I got a card in a pack that's going for 100 raw, like just no grading whatsoever. And if I was to get a 10, it's like a $500 card now.
Holy shit.
It's insane. It's exciting though, right? But I've really fallen in love with that kind of hobby. I just love even if I get a bad grade back, it's not like a business thing. Like I'll eventually sell these off, but right now it's just fun seeing what does well, what doesn't, and kind of learning about the economy of Pokemon. But this wasn't just, I've happened into Pokemon. Like I grew up with this thing. I feel like it's one of the few IP that you can say like, everyone's had their own story with this. Like for me, I fell out of Pokemon when I was much younger, which is when it was its most popular. Like I think Black and White came out, and that's when I stopped because Mega Man Battle Network had really taken over. And I love that series. Like that was my Pokemon growing up. And I didn't get back into it until Sun and Moon. But when I was out of Pokemon, I too fell out of cards. And that's when I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! Biggest mistake I ever made. I had think of any dream first edition card, Dark Magician, Buster Blade, and so on and so forth. I gave all of it away for a copy of Skate 2, and I fucking hate that game because of it. Dumbest thing I ever did in 8th grade was give away this entire stack of thousands of dollars in cards now. Ungraded, mind you. Insane. And then in my college years, I floated into the Dragon Ball Super card game, and I played it for 3-4 years. I'd go to events like in my local area. I wasn't like traveling far. Like the furthest I went was 45 minutes. I'd play every Wednesday, every Tuesday, and it was a ton of fun. And unfortunately, the local scene's kind of shut down since the pandemic because obviously we couldn't get together in person. And so the card game died out a bit. But I bring all this up just to, of course, pick your guys' brains on card game memories. I mean, I collected sports cards while I was collecting Pokemon cards. Like I realized as I was thinking about it, I was like, I've always really liked this. And less even the rush of cracking a pack and say, did I get anything good, anything rare? But just now with the grading and with eBay, and we talked about always being online, it's like, I can just go and instead of playing the game a chance, I can just pay the premium, get the thing I want and grade it and multiply the value of that. And I've just won flat out. And I've kind of removed that random element that has become such a cash sink in this otherwise like fun game of chance. But otherwise, I think a lot of it stems back to my childhood where, base set booster packs in the first edition for Pokemon, if you were to get a booster box, like that's hundreds of thousands of dollars now. It's insane. A Charizard in a 10 first edition is almost like, I think 400,000. It's incredible how expensive this game has become. It's truly like people run businesses on just like on Whatnot. I don't know if anyone's heard of this app. For those who haven't, it's this think of TikTok in a way, but it's a live stream and people will like buy packs and you'll just watch it real time. It's dangerous if you have like an addictive personality or if you have bad self-control, because you can literally just, here's $5. Can you rip that pack for me? And they'll rip it and you'll get things and they'll ship it to you. It's like, okay, I'll rip another. Like it can get out of hand. I've seen it go pretty bad for friends of mine. But like nowadays, I just think like it's one of the best times to get into cards because you can remove so much of that chance. But that's kind of just my whole spiel on all of my card game history. And I'm just curious if you guys are into it at all. Do you have a lot of history with it? Is it something you would be interested in now or moving forward?
Dig, let's hear from you. Oh, Chris, if you want to go, I'm sorry.
No, well, I specifically, this has been on my mind a lot lately because Sweeney, my one of my closest friends. I always want to say roommate, even though we don't live together anymore because we were roommates for so long. But he's gotten into Digimon trade, the Digimon card game.
Oh, the new one. Okay.
He was telling me, it's like, oh yeah, I'm playing Digimon now. I was like, what? I was like, that's I got so fucking confused. And like, I feel like trading card games in general are like exploding in like the last like couple months. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I know more people now than ever who are like really into this stuff. And I don't know, it's interesting to me because I could never, I would collect cards, but I could never get into the game part of it. Like, I don't know what it was. I collected a bunch of Dragon Ball Z cards, like when I was like really, really young. I have somewhere in my parents' house, I don't know where the fuck this thing is, and I'm seething because I know it's somewhere. It's in one of my parents have two kind of small, creepy, cramped attics in the house. And it's just like, I know it's in there somewhere, but I'm just too, it is such a tall task to find them. But I have a binder untouched of all of the original like Pokemon cards as they originally were. And I never played them at all. I never played with them at all. I collected them. I would put them in, and I have duplicates of many of them. They're in this binder untouched because I never played the game, and it's just sitting there. And that's like, that bothers me every fucking day. Like every time I think about card games at all, I think about like, goddamn, that binder's just sitting there behind like 50,000 boxes full of, I don't know, old clothes and Christmas decorations. It's probably in the far, far back where all the nails, and there's probably like a spider that speaks English guarding it. Like, I don't know, like it's really frustrating, but I never got into the game aspect of it because so many of the card games were rooted in things that were already video games. And I was so into the video game. Like Pokemon, it was like, I'm not going to play the trading card game. I never played Pokemon before. I'm going to play the fucking video game that everybody fucking loves. And that has enamoring music and is charming beyond reason. Like, I'm not gonna, and Yu-Gi-Oh was you're gonna probably kill me, Matty, but I was not into Yu-Gi-Oh at all. And I remember I woke up one day with a stack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like a big deck. And I think it was like, in retrospect, I think it was a gift from somebody who had shown up earlier in the day and I was asleep and they didn't want to wake me, and they left these Yu-Gi-Oh cards on my desk. And it was before I even knew what Yu-Gi-Oh was. And so I woke up and I turned and I looked on my nightstand, and there were this deck of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I looked at them and I was like, the fuck is this? And I threw them all in the garbage.
Oh no.
I did.
Oh, it hurts.
I'm not
alone in just wasting Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I guess.
It was like this thing. It was like a fucking insane amount of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I was just like, I don't know what this is. I've never heard of this.
Did you ever find out who gave it to you?
No.
Like, hey, Chris, we can play sometime. You just fucking threw them away.
No one said anything because I don't know. I was young at that time. So I was like, I think it was possible. I don't know. I had a stupid imagination. I was thinking like, oh, this must be like, I don't know. Maybe these just like manifested here somehow. Like, I don't know. Like, and I wasn't really thinking about it. And then I think like a year or two later, I thought like, that's probably a gift. And then I never brought it up because I didn't want that to be like, I didn't want to bring it up to the person who gave it to me. Yeah. And then be like, and then they're like, where are they now? It's like, oh, well, I immediately
played with them so much. They burnt out, man. I had to throw them away.
Yeah. They all they disintegrated into ash because I played them so religiously.
Dave, what do you have to say about this?
I would have loved this stuff as a kid because I grew up in the 70s and 80s. We were saddled with sports cards, And of course, my son was born in 2010, so he was a big Pokemon mark. He's 12 and a half now, and he's starting to get that age where he's too cool for it. But you could when we go into a Target or a Walmart, he still wanders over. I still find him over by the cards. So he's still got 1 foot in. He's at that age.
That's awesome. I love that.
It's such a tender age because you don't want him. You want to coach him not to get it. Like, don't feel the pressure to get out of this. Like, stay in, but you don't want to be too heavy-handed about it because then he'll just do the opposite thing, because he's at that rebellious age, I wonder, you guys saying it getting big lately again is interesting because I wonder how much of that is like a direct reaction to actually having a physical, non-digital hobby, it's not TikTok and it's not a video game. I think that's a natural human inclination, you know what I mean? To get into something that could actually, like Lego. Like I'm always fascinated with how big Lego is because in this digital age where everything's an awesome video game or an interactive activity of some kind, it's like people still want to play with toys. I love it. But for me, like growing up, I was a kid in the 70s who had the shoebox, several shoeboxes full of like baseball cards. It was the first hobby that I didn't have any autonomy. Like people, when you were a kid, like a boy growing up in the 70s, people just assumed you liked baseball cards. So that's what they got you. It was baseball cards and Matchbox cars and, Hot Wheels. Oh, and then you could either react or not react accordingly to whether you liked them or not. And I had so many baseball cards that it occurred to me when Matty emailed this topic. I was like, you know what? A lot of those must have been hand-me-downs from our uncle and aunt. Our Uncle Mike and Aunt Joni must have imparted their collections to me because I had way too many. I would remember going into like the pharmacy or the supermarket once in a while with grandma and grandpa to get me a pack of baseball cards. But I don't remember being that avid about collecting, but I had so many. But I'll tell you what I remember. When sports cards and collecting was starting to cross over into like nerdier stuff in the mid 80s with Garbage Pail Kids and Wacky Packages and stuff like that, where not only was the card, like the sports card specifically, crossing over into more fun stuff, or pop culture-y stuff, but it was also becoming stickers. So part of it was collecting and then filling a sticker book, you know? So I remember that with, like I would get the random pack of Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back cards, trading cards. They were probably tops, right? But then I remember Return of the Jedi was the first time you could go in the drugstore, get a sticker book, and the whole thing was to get the packs of stickers, and then you would, try to chip away at forming the mosaic on each page, or the stickers and filling up a scene like Jabba's Palace or the Battle at Endor, and you get all the stickers to fill that one page. That was cool. I remember getting the stuff from the Ice Cream Man. Like that was a big part of my collecting. So when my son got into Pokemon, it was pretty awesome because it was like a kind of return to that stuff that wasn't a big sports guy growing up. So when he started to get into that, you know what I realized? Pokemon trading cards have been around since what, 96? So it's been almost 30 years.
Like right when I was born.
That's incredible. So the values, I guess, shouldn't surprise me. And then it was always exciting for him, like with Graydon, with my son, because he got a little older, and then we would go to a retro video game convention, and he would go after, the individual cards, sometimes a Japanese card or a shiny version of a card, or, got into all the GX and EX, and then he started to get savvy enough to go online and start researching the values of things. So it crossed over into just like, this is a cool character, to like, oh, Dad, like I got a card that's worth $90 or something, so it was exciting. So I'm kind of, and he's got so many that I actually don't know. Two things actually I wanted to ask you, Matty, that you may be able to speak to. I've always been, dating back to baseball cards, I've always been fascinated with how the companies generate like random packs and control the availability and the rarity. Like, how do they do that? And then also with just preservation, because he has the binders full of like sought after cards, and then he has just boxes full of actual cards. And those things are, Pokemon cards are expensive as shit.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah. I remember one time he was watching a YouTuber, like a Pokemon trading card YouTuber, and the guy was like, I spent $10,000 on Pokemon cards, and he had them all set up in the boxes, and it was like, it was like 20 boxes or something. I'm like, wait, that's $10,000 worth of Pokemon.
Intense.
So if you have any tips on that, if you have any insights into like how the companies dispatch these things, and then also like, how do we keep them nice? I don't want to just stick them in the basement in Ziploc bags. I don't know how to preserve them for him so he could give them to his son later, or sell them for a car later on or something.
What I do is when I like get a card that I go, okay, I want to grade this, or in his case, preserve it. And he sounds like he's on the track to one day grading his cards. Is whatever card I get, I will. It sounds ridiculous, but this is why I say it's a fun hobby. Is I'll put it into a little penny sleeve just to kind of cover it up, right? No dust, keep the corners nice and soft.
Sure.
And then throw it in a top loader after that. Just nice, firm top loader, so it's not going to bend, it's not going to break, none of that, and it keeps, again, the edges protected, because that's the most sensitive part of the card, right? You just don't want it that when it's time to actually grade them, what I do is I'll throw on gloves and I will pull the card out of the penny sleeve.
I love it.
And I will take a lens. Yeah, I'm sure you can relate, Colin, with the G.I. Joes. And I will take a kind of lens cleaner and I will do little circles around all the cards. Because apparently if you got fingerprints on it, PSA says you're going down a rank. And I'm just like, I'm not taking any chances. So that's the length I'll go to now, because like I'll submit probably $300 at a time at the PSA. They don't charge you right away. So like one day you'll just get a random deduction from your account. You'll be like, what the hell happened? And just, oh, right, it's the PSA. I submitted this like a month ago. But the risk, if you will, that you play is that you'll possibly multiply that by 5. Like I'll pay $300 to grade these cards. I'm like, oh, if I sold all these, I'd make $1,500. Like it's why it's worth like that extra 30 minutes of effort before I throw them in a box. It's like, all right, I'll just clean any potential smudges off of it. As for how they put them in packs, I don't fully know how they generate the odds for it. Like each pack each set has different pull rates. Like there's this joke that there's this set called Evolving Skies, and people call it Evolving Cries because like the pull rates are terrible in it.
I know.
But one of the latest ones, Crown Zenith, is one I love. Like the pull rates are great, the cards are awesome, they're valuable. Like it's just you're winning all across the board. Like it never feels bad to open Crown Zenith. But the reality is something like Evolving Skies is because there's this like one chase card that's got a high. So I think it just differs from set to set. But I actually watched a video on how they produce the cards, and I found it so interesting. So they like contact all these illustrators that do the art for the cards. That's why like on the bottom left, I think it is, of Pokemon cards, it'll say like illustrator and they'll have their name. And it's different for so many of them. So they get the art for the cards, and once they produce them, they put them on these huge sheets, like think of wrapping paper almost. And they send them through a conveyor belt and they just slice them up. And what's happening is, it's funny, is you'd think they'd perfect this craft by now, but the condition of English Pokemon cards has actually become horrible. So you'll pull cards. Anyone who listens to this, who's opening Pokemon cards and they pay attention to this stuff, will know you'll pop a card out of a pack. It's what they would call pack fresh, but you'll see like the corners whitened. There'll be like a dink on the card, a dent. You're like, how the fuck did this happen? It's actually getting worse, something in their production pipeline. And it's only happening for English. Like I open Japanese stuff all the time. It's fine. No problems. Centering's good. Like we're fine. But like when it comes to the English quality, it's been hit or miss. So I don't know how they produce the odds. So it's kind of like going left on your actual question, but I do know they have a huge process for this type of stuff. And then the foil is like actually using metal. It's crazy, actually. Like there's entire plants dedicated to producing Pokemon cards in the millions.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's actually really incredible, because like people buy these in insane batches. Like there are booster boxes and you'll get 24 packs in those, but people will buy what's called a case, and that's like I think 10 booster boxes. Okay. And you're guaranteed the secret rare in that, the secret alt rare in there, and that's like your your big money card. Like there's odds within the packs, right? Then there's odds within the boosters, then there's odds within the cases. And there's very few guarantees in that I could run you down. But point being is it just changes constantly.
That's amazing.
It really is
fascinating. It
really
I
agree.
Is.
I agree. Yeah, I'm fascinated by it too. I cards have always been very appealing to me. I did go through phases of collecting cards, although not even this century, I guess, have I done any of that stuff. But I loved hockey cards when I was a kid, and so I'll start there. Had many thousands of hockey cards, and actually it was just last year, and when I was, so I bought this house or whatever, and it's the first time that I've been able to centralize all my things, being the child of divorce and the child of going to all these different places. My stuff's just scattered to the wind. So finally I was able, and much to the pleasure of my parents, especially my dad, who just like was here in like a millisecond with all the things from my house. From his house that was mine, like ready to just drop it all off. I was able to unify everything. And I was like, holy shit, I have so many hockey cards. And probably from, I would say 1988 to 1994 or so. And I actually just gave them all away. As I understood, there was probably value in the low thousands for all of them if I took the time to go through them, clean them up, put them on eBay and all of that. And I was just talking to a guy, just a random listener who I remember he was a postal worker, and I showed them and he's like, well, I'm not going to have enough money to pay for these or whatever. I'm like, you really just have them, dude. I don't even want these. I know there's not that. There can't possibly be anything that valuable in here. I took out a few that I cared about that I just wanted to keep, but just random players that I liked. But I got rid of those. But as far as like kind of more the customizable card game that you're talking about, I was actually a pretty early Magic player. I don't know if Dagan remembers that, but I did play Magic for a little while.
I remember.
Magic, I think 93, 94 is when it came out. I probably messed around with it in 95, 96.
Mm-hmm.
And I would play at like the mall. And I had, I don't know, I probably bought overall like a couple hundred cards and made a pretty good deck or whatever. I don't know what happened to those. I might have sold them or gave them away, threw them out. I have no idea what happened to those cards. Those things are gone because I've kind of gone through all my different shit from all the different corners of my life and I don't see them anywhere. But there was that element of, or that moment of playing Magic, and that actually led into, and I don't know if this is still a thing, I don't know when it went away, but it was big for the time, was a Star Wars customizable card game. And I played this probably 97, 98, maybe into 99. And that was a fun Magic kind of spin-off with Star Wars cards. And I actually have very vivid memories of buying those cards and just how much money I was spending on these things. But ultimately, those were the three big things that I was doing with cards, outside of what I would say were two other things that were, I think, random. One is our dad had a friend who had a son who had like a shit ton of Marvel cards, and he gave them to us. And that's how I knew all of this random shit. That's like all my familiarity to comic book characters is from those Marvel cards. Like,
what era were those from?
I want to say mid 80s to early 90s.
Yeah,
like,
that's probably
a pretty
right.
dark era, I think, for the company, but like it was very much a historical look at everything. There were like, I remember there were cards, you probably remember this, day, there were cards that were just the check mark, like the check boxes for other cards.
Yes,
there was a card that was just,
yeah.
And I remember like there was everything in there. So I had a bunch of those, and I actually gave all of those to our nephews a few years ago, probably in 2015 or something like that. I remember was at dad's cards. And I was like, you can just I'm like, I have all this shit. You guys can just have this. The other thing, and I don't know if you remember these, Dagan, and I think they were done by Image back in the day, if I recall correctly, were the G.I. Joe collectible cards. And those were released in like 89, 90, 91, I think, something like that. Early and 90s. I had a bunch of those as a kid, but I have a full collection as an adult.
Oh, you got them?
Yeah, I bought like a whole huge lot of them. The entire closet here behind the drum kit is literally G.I. Joes. Just floor to ceiling, just all sorts of shit. I just buy things and just put it in there because G.I. Joes are getting so expensive and so valuable that you might as well just buy what you encounter. At least that's been my like, I bought my minty Storm Shadow complete, like an actual white Storm Shadow, perfectly white with a perfect Cobra logo. Fairly rare. I bought it for like $80 or $100 a few years ago. You're not getting that for $100.
No, that's way up now. Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like I gotta, and I thought you might appreciate this, Matty, as an exit is, and I don't know if you remember this, is I was actually going on Twitch and cleaning the figures on Twitch, like going through and putting the figures together.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
I don't know if other people do that. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone do that, but I assume people do that with cards too. And that's probably an interesting way to like make a little extra revenue. I got to get back onto Twitch at some point because I actually, in like a month and a half, just made this account, did all this stuff, and then got my check mark and all that. And then I was like, all right, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. So I kind of got to get back there at some point.
Got to get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I realized like live streaming, I just don't think I like that much. Like,
yeah, I actually don't either, to be honest.
I like the more premeditated approach my schedule how I want. I give a ton of credit to streamers who are live 8 hours a day. I don't know how they do it. I mean that seriously. I don't know how. Like I sometimes only have the energy, and I don't mean that like, oh, I got to be peppy. Like I just sometimes don't want to be on camera. And so like podcasts are like my capacity, like 3 hours, 4. And I can shut it off when I want.
There was a hot minute there where I was streaming for a lot. And I think I think I did like I did a 12-hour Elden Ring stream.
Wow.
And it's weird. If you're by yourself, that's fucking super hard. But I have this Discord that I kind of like jump in, and people can jump in throughout it's almost like a live radio show where people can just sort of jump in, and I have a lot of fun doing that. But generally, like, yeah, I prefer I'd rather just make a video.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, the problem is too, like, I don't play any of the games that perform well. So
no,
I'm just playing like role playing games like Dragon Age, and I'm streaming to like 200 people. It's like, okay, like this isn't gonna grow much.
Not worth it.
Yeah, I'm playing Halo 2 still.
Yeah,
it's like Nazo's like, who the fuck is watching this?
Yeah, I had hundreds, 500, 600, 700 people watching me clean G.I. Joes, and I was like,
that's so funny.
I'm like,
that's great. Those are great.
Really good.
I just think
That's
it was funny. It was a funny thing, you know.
That's like top percentile of Twitch, technically speaking.
It is, right?
I think it's so rare for me to be live that I think it's just interesting to people. I guarantee you it would become less interesting if I did it more. And I don't think I've been on Twitch live since 2020, probably something like that. So
yeah, that's the approach I'm hoping people understand with my channel, because I haven't gone live in ages, but like when there's an event worth streaming, I'm like, okay, I'll go live for this.
Oh yeah,
it's like the one time you'll catch me, so I guess show up.
I remember streaming. We streamed from your office, right? That one
was great.
Event where they
what a first impression that was.
Where they announced
me fucking river stomping my cord as KOTOR gets announced and just cutting the audio out.
That was so fucking funny. That was because you were freaking out because they announced KOTOR, and now KOTOR's gone.
I know, God, bro, just tragic. Like just to know,
So
like I had
sad.
no idea what was coming my way when I was reacting that way. Like, oh, it's happening, and it's just like possibly canceled. Now is that Saber fucking interactive, which I like Saber, but don't get me started. I just
happens
humiliating in hindsight.
happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I guess so.
well, you got the information right. I mean, the outcome.
Yeah, my KOTOR shit's always rock solid. There's no doubt, but I don't know. I don't do it anymore because I think the person who worked there that was telling me stuff just doesn't work there anymore.
Yeah,
they no longer answer me.
yeah, fair enough. All right, my friends. Let's end on a very important topic I wanted to talk about in closing.
Very important.
I got to get everyone's take on Ketchup here because this came up, I think, at the live show or maybe in the VIP session at the live show, but there's so many strong feelings about Ketchup. I learned, for instance, that Cog is a big Ketchup guy, which made me really feel closer than ever to him.
Wow.
And
I feel so mad at him for that.
And I love Ketchup. I just absolutely love it. It is an American staple. And what's so funny is I watched this guy, we were talking about random things on YouTube. So I watched this guy on YouTube that lives out in the Dakotas, and he digs up random like outhouse like locations. Like they locate like an old map and like kind of put everything together and figure out where this like outhouse was or something, and they dig it up from the 1860s or 1870s.
Holy
and it's
shit.
really awesome actually. And so they find a bunch of bottles, like medicinal bottles and liquor bottles and a bunch of different mementos, and one of the things they come up with pretty often is ketchup bottles, because at that time ketchup was becoming like a big thing in the United States. And so it's like constant, like there's constant ketchup bottles, and ever since this era it's been just part of Americana, and I love it. I just absolutely fucking love it. Now I'm very European in the sense, and I wouldn't say that in very many ways, but I'm very European in that I also love mayonnaise. I love mayonnaise. I love fries with mayonnaise. I love all of that. But ketchup is a fine product, and I'm perplexed. Some people are so aghast by it. And I can understand that if I was talking about ranch or mustard.
I love mustard though.
I love mustard too. This is like this
one.
is the psychosis that we had to deal with at the VIP section.
It really was.
The thing for me is that ketchup is tomato syrup, and I can't look at it in any other way than that. And it's like really, and it's a really off-putting thing. It's like it's sugary, but it's a vegetable, and it like feels wrong. And then like sometimes you'll squeeze it out of the fucking thing, and it'll do that. That fucking disgusting sound. And then like sometimes like it takes a while, and then like you get that little drip of like translucent red water, and it's
that's what Dustin calls the ketchup pre-cum. That was a
I
great
hate
hand
it,
radio
man.
quote.
He
called that just ruined ketchup.
That was perfect.
Dude, I hate it. I just don't. And what I hate most about it is the insistence of people with it, like, because they put on fucking everything. It's like, oh, I put it on my fries, I put it in my, why you put it in your burger, dude? Your burger needs ketchup? Why? Do you just not like the burger, I guess? Because that's what is really happening. I've known many people over the course of my life. I love fries, like as they are. Like I love eating fries. Like I love like seasoned fries, unseasoned fries, whatever the fuck. McDonald's fries by themselves, crack. That doesn't need anything.
No, like, I agree with you there.
I dip them in like, sauce, like the Chick-fil-A sauce or like what any sauce that I have. Like I like sauces generally. I like sauces generally, right? And I'll have them, right? But I also like fries by themselves. And I remember being out with friends of mine. I was eating my fries by myself. I was like, I just didn't feel like having sauce. I don't know. It's just one of those days. I had to drink. I was like well hydrated. It wasn't super dry, whatever. And I was eating my fries and I was like, what delicious fries. And they were like, how can you eat those without ketchup? And I was like, what do you mean? Because I like fries. And then they're like, I don't think. And I remember this clear as day. It's so funny because I don't remember who said it because I think I stopped talking to them after this. But they said, I don't think I could eat fries were it not for ketchup. And that fucking infuriated me to no end. Because you don't like fries then. You're just looking for an excuse to shovel ketchup in your fucking mouth. And it's socially unacceptable to do that. So you need to have, it's basically just eating a spoon. You know? And it's just like, I don't know. It bothers me because I feel like people use ketchup to mask the fact that they don't like food. It's weird. Like, just enjoy your fucking food. I've had ketchup every now and again. Like, if it's like whatever, but I'll never go out of my way. Like, I don't own ketchup. I'll tell you what I do own: mustard and mayonnaise.
Hell yeah!
But
hell yeah,
mustard's fucking delicious. I don't know how you don't like.
Yeah, I can't do mustard.
You've never had like a pastrami sandwich with like mustard and you've never had that ever?
No, I would never.
Oh my god!
You would just never try it? Even?
No, I mean, I've had mustard. I've said the first time I ever had mustard. I don't know if I ever went into this on this show, but I've certainly said it in the past. This is true, and I think people have to wrap their heads around it. On Long Island and in New York City, they do not put mustard on their burgers at McDonald's and Burger King and all these places. They do not do it. It is as a rule, there is no mustard there. Now, if you're well traveled around the United States, you know that is not true anywhere else. They'll put mustard on your burger in 2 seconds in California, in New England, even upstate New York, and so on and so forth. So the first time I left Long Island and I went to Connecticut, I had a McDonald's burger and I almost threw up. And my mom takes the bun off. I remember very clear. And there's like yellow stuff and I was like, mustard. And she's like, no, it's butter. And I remember that. So I remember being like, oh, I fucking hate you. You know, it's not butter. And so ever since then, I've been when I go to McDonald's, I order my stuff like double quarter pounder with cheese, no mustard, no pickles. That's like always been my order. But if you still order to this day on Long Island, you don't have to say no mustard because they do not put mustard on the burgers. And so that was my first introduction to it. Dagan, do we ever figure out why that is? It is true.
It's definitely true.
And I don't understand it. Like at some point people were just going rogue and being like, we're not doing it. Like we're not putting mustard on the burgers.
I probably had my first McDonald's burger accidentally with mustard when I was late in my teens because we grew up in New York. And then I was horrified. I was like, why? Because it's like, I don't mind mustard.
You're fucking crazy.
But why is it just specific to that region that just didn't take on the mustard? Because Pennsylvania, like you said, New England, Colin,
like you can see it in the pictures on the commercials. It was weird. Like, right. It's like, there's clearly mustard on this burger in this commercial.
So strange.
On the ad,
why did Long Island opt out?
Yeah, we opted out of a lot of things.
I gotta say, I don't know if I relate to this. This idea that like mustard, because I don't think I've ordered a burger that had mustard on it my entire fucking life.
No, you definitely, if you have had McDonald's in California or in Boston.
I've not, well, here's the thing. When I go to those places, I usually get chicken sandwiches.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why you would not notice that then. Yeah.
Because like when I get burgers, I usually get, it's like Five Guys, or I'm like at like a, I don't know, like an actual
place,
I don't know, like a bar or like a restaurant or something like that. So I don't normally order burgers. So
if you order like the mass consumer Burger King or McDonald's burger, they'll put mustard on it.
Mustard on a chicken sandwich.
Yeah, that would be hard.
That turns the thought of that just.
But ketchup on a chicken sandwich? Ketchup on a chicken sandwich?
No. Jesus Christ.
Definitely not. Barbecue.
What is wrong with you?
I mean, mayonnaise like a chicken sandwich,
or like something. In my opinion. Yeah, like barbecue or like mayonnaise or something. Like
that's all both fine.
Yeah. Matty, I did a little digging because I was curious about this McDonald's thing. Yeah. This is news to me.
Tell me.
Although I don't eat fast food much, but someone had written that when coming to New York City back in the 70s, McDonald's did their testing and found that New Yorkers just do not put mustard on their burgers. Therefore, McDonald's doesn't either. Like that's their rationale. So I guess it's a New York thing.
That's a self-perpetuating thing, which is so funny. It's self-perpetuating.
So odd.
They're just like, oh, they don't do this. Like, I doubt it's expensive for them to do, but they're just like, oh, people don't like this. Like, let's stop put mustard on their burgers.
I mean, to be fair, like I don't put mustard on my burgers. Mustard is a very specific thing, and I think it belongs on like hot dogs and like very specific sandwiches. Like pastrami mustard, fucking so good. Like it's so damn good, and it doesn't belong on a burger. I would agree, generally. Like, I don't know. I haven't tried it, but like I can imagine that would be a little bit conflicting.
Well, let me ask you about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just to be so opposed to mustard as a premise is.
Yeah, I'm horrified by it. Like, it's one of my. I just can't with mustard. I just can't do it. That's another topic for another day because I have so much to say about that. But we can mine that for content. But all right, let me ask you these things. Hot dog, ketchup. Put a ketchup on a hot dog?
Absolutely not. That's disgusting.
Really?
May I? Kyle?
Yeah,
I don't.
This has come up. Listen, this has come up
May you?
actually
of course
a
you may.
lot.
Yeah.
You're on a crusade with a K with this whole ketchup thing.
Right.
Capital K.
By the way, ketchup, anybody going for that?
Catsup. I wish that. I mean, that's nice. I like that. It's the great.
It's one letter short of cat soup.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
See, this is another thing. This is another thing. Nobody even knows what it is. Ketchup, ketchup. Like it's nobody knows mustard. None of us have had a different pronunciation for mustard at all. No one's ever said mustard wrong. Mustard knows what it is and it's goddamn confident.
Colonel mustard.
Listen, I don't want to nullify my argument because I honestly, if I could be transparent with you guys, I have a pretty contentious relationship with condiments in general. I have like mayo is definitely a discussion for another day because that's a weird one for me. Like I like mayo on my sandwich, but if you put a pinhead too much, I'd rather just not have it at all. Like I don't know what's going on with me and mayo.
I know what you mean.
Right? It's just I can't with mayo.
Mayo is a very overpowering thing, and it like if there's too much, it ruins it.
Totally. For me. But I know mayo fans like Kyle, my daughter's like that. She's got to have the extra mayo and stuff.
I know people who drink that shit. They pour it in a full glass.
Let me start with French fries. I understand ketchup and French fries. Okay. I understand because it's about compliments, right? You get something crunchy and salty. You have a little bit of the sweet, right? You get something hot, have something cool with it. I get it. Hot dogs, absolutely not. I would say eggs. This is the weird thing with my family growing up. Colin will know this. We're half Italian, half Irish, but we've always been kind of trained to kind of ignore or bury down the Irish side. There was a favoritism towards the Italian side of my family.
No doubt.
So whenever not everybody in my family, certainly not my dad, but my grandparents, some of my siblings may feel this way. My aunts and uncles certainly, like whenever ketchup got involved with the breakfast conversation, there would be like a nudge and a wink, like that's what the Irish do. And I would always, that's for the Irish. That's, turn your nose up at it. But I'd be like, I'm half Irish. Like it was so confusing because we were half Irish, but there was like a little poke at the Irish. Like only the Irish do that. That's for the Irish. So there was always this philosophy that I think you got to be careful with condiments because I think a lot of people, not everybody, but I think a lot of people use it to mask mediocre or even bad food, right? It should complement the food.
Right.
Like I'm like Chris, I like sauces. Give me a barbecue sauce. Give me a nice Polynesian or Chick-fil-A sauce from Chick-fil-A. It's all wonderful. Oof. And here's the thing. Here's my last stance on ketchup. With the burger, it doesn't bother me. It's just that there's so many. It's my last thought. There's hundreds of wonderful things you could put on a hamburger. Ketchup, now in the age of aioli and all this kind of stuff, like, do we really need ketchup?
Yeah, we are in the age of aioli. This is true.
We are in the age of aioli.
Aioli's so damn good, though.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem with ketchup is like I don't know if there is this type of person, but I'm gonna make it a thing. I'm a hot food kind of guy. Like I like all of my meals warm. Always. Like the people who eat cold pizza, don't get me started, can't even fucking understand that. So for me, when I see people take ketchup, which is a generally colder condiment, right? And I see them go to eggs that just came off the stovetop, potatoes that are just steaming, and they pour this cooling condiment on it, and I bite down on it, and it's a blend of hot and cold. I hate that feeling so goddamn much.
This
I
feels
can't
so
even begin
goddamn
to start.
schizophrenic.
Yeah, I
love this.
I can't begin to get into it. To me, it's like it's got to be warm. It's got to be warm.
But so how do you just quickly, like, how do you feel about like the fact that like lettuce on a burger and stuff, which is usually
I take the lettuce off my burger always. Like any restaurant that pulls up and they put lettuce on my burger, I pull that out. I pull the fucking cold ass tomato out.
Oh, the tomato.
It's just the burger, the cheese. That's it. Like I'm a very, very boring person in that regard. I think I'm a spicy cook. I think I've shown that much on this show.
What about onion? You like onion on your burger?
Nope. Pull that shit off too.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, dude.
I love onion on a burger.
I gotta be real. Honestly, I used to be exactly like you, and I still do it to like when I go to Five Guys. Give me the plain cheeseburger. Like I don't need fucking.
It's so long.
But if I have like if I'm at like a restaurant and they give me like a fucking lettuce, tomato burger, it's like this is fucking overpriced already. I'm eating all this.
Mm.
I get it.
And I feel like
lettuce.
and then
my thing is,
and then when you ask, and if you ask for no lettuce, they look at you like you're a fucking child. He's like, oh, you can't have
the lettuce comes out of the burger so much as I'm grabbing the burger, the lettuce is like falling between my fingers. I'm like, this is so fucking much. Like, I yank it out every time. I do it as I don't do many things for show, but that is one thing. Like, I will dramatically, like, emphatically rip the lettuce out of my burger every time because I'm just like, this is ridiculous. This is a salad you put on my goddamn piece of meat. Like, it's ridiculous.
to the point though of like asking for no lettuce. It's funny you say that because I've been like, you can just, I've been to be helpful, be like, you don't even have to bring the lettuce and the tomato, and it just doesn't even compute. Yeah, it's like when people
it's like on the burger.
It's like when you don't ask for ice at a place and then they just immediately dip the cup in the ice and start filling the drink because it's just muscle memory. You know.
Yes.
So I just have been used to ripping that out as well. But you know what in California, I really came to love avocados, which are just plentiful there and cheap. And avocado and egg on a burger. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. The burger, I focus with ketchup on a burger. So pardon me for my obsession here. But just like, there's just so many other things you could put on a burger.
So many.
Ketchup.
That's true. And I also put other things on the burger as well. But for me, man, nothing beats just a cheeseburger on a potato bun with a bunch of American cheese and ketchup. Like, that's just perfect to me.
Yeah, I like a little dab of ketchup on my burger.
I like bacon on mine.
Bacon's good.
Delicious.
I'm a big bacon burger person. And when I got to LA for the first time and I went to In-N-Out and I was like, hey, can I get a bacon burger? And they're like, we don't have bacon. And I was like, I can't fucking believe this
they
place.
don't, do they?
They don't do. It's the only place I've ever been to that doesn't do that. It's very bizarre. Five Guys does it. I'm pretty sure. I haven't had a burger at McDonald's or Burger King in a while, but I can't imagine that they don't do that.
They do it. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's probably a lucrative upsell, dude. You'd think you'd want to have that option.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I get, if I can put bacon on anything, I'll put it on. You know, so I used to live in LA, or I used to live in New York, and there's a lot of great delis, and you would get like these great sandwiches. I love cold sandwiches a little bit more than hot sandwiches personally. Like an Italian sub with just all that shit on it. It's just like so delicious. Yeah. And I've come to really, really like lately Jersey Mike's, which is like, you know, it's kind of like a Subway kind of place. It's not amazing, but like they make a really
one because I've never been there, but I just think of it as like a budget Subway.
It's way better than Subway, but at the same time, they don't do like I think they have some hot sandwiches. I'm not a hot sandwich person though. Like I eat my sandwiches cold, probably because growing up, my parents would just make me a sandwich in the morning and then just throw it in my bag and like, here you go. So like I have no problem eating like a cold sandwich, but they make this great Italian. If you get the original Italian sub, ask for it Mike's way and then get bacon on it. And it's fucking, and now granted, it's got a lot of fucking tomato and a lot of lettuce, Matt. So like, I don't know if you
Son of a bitch.
You could ask for
as
it
long
without
as it's not a piece of red meat involved. That's that's the backbreaker. A piece of hot red meat with these vegetables just draped over it. Decorating a burger.
No,
that's where I call it quits.
I will say they do overdo it with the lettuce sometimes, but you know, it's just this. It's like a bunch of cold cuts. It's like a bunch of like pepperoni, salami, like a bunch of stuff, and then like this great vinaigrette sauce that they put on it, or this like dressing. And you can get it. I put bacon on that too because why the fuck not? Mm-hmm. Delicious. My favorite sandwich. My favorite sandwich from a chain that isn't like from like a deli in New York, which obviously like I mean, that's top tier shit by itself. But out here in LA, there are no delis. no reliable delis.
No, there is.
So I have to rely on Jersey Mike's, and so far that's the one that I go with. But no ketchup on that either.
No, I don't think they
No,
have that.
definitely
No
not.
availability of the ketchup even at
Kyle,
that
I
place.
thought of a caveat in your favor, though.
Yeah, please.
The egg sandwich, right?
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
all know this. The New York
Bacon,
City
egg, and cheese.
breakfast sandwich.
Bacon,
Bacon, egg, and cheese with the ketchup on.
Bacon,
I'm
egg, and
not
cheese, salt, and
offended
pepper.
by that.
Yeah, salt, pepper,
Yeah.
ketchup. Yeah, SPK.
Mm-mm. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
I don't do-
okay.
See, I
Which
don't
is
do ketchup
weird.
on there.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
right,
you just get it.
ketchup
You
on
just
there.
get it straight up.
Yeah, I get a bacon, egg, and cheese with salt, pepper. I don't.
No
I don't need
ketchup.
No,
Okay.
because
Some
the egg
people would
is
do
the egg-
mayonnaise too, but which is fine. But yeah, ketchup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ketchup and
Yeah.
eggs gives me the chills.
Yeah, I don't actually need. See,
I
the
kind
thing
of
about
agree,
ketchup
man.
is
I
that
agree.
I like almost wet scrambled eggs. You know, like that's like almost my favorite thing. Like eggs that are
Oh no,
like that's like my
That's a
dad's shit. That's like Firehouse shit. You know,
it really is.
and that's like hardcore Irish stuff. But I like all kinds of eggs. I like everything, like all kinds of egg. But I'm not introducing ketchup for the eggs. Typically, I'm introducing ketchup if there's potatoes or if there's one of my favorites, which is corned beef hash, which I fucking love. I love corned beef hash, and I love the cheap Mary's Kitchen corned beef hash. I don't need any like when there's a place and they're like, oh, we make our own corned beef hash. I'm like, that sucks. I don't want that stuff. Give me
I want homemade.
give me that fucking dog food. You know, so ketchup is, but I just want to throw a few other things out there that I recommend. Ketchup and rice.
Oh my god.
That is offensive.
Wow.
And
That's too much.
right. And this is Japanese, but mayonnaise and rice is really good too. Like you
I
put a little
can't
mayonnaise and
do
rice.
this.
Yeah.
And then with all the different meats we eat, because Micah cooks like, you know, chicken breasts or chicken thighs, whatever, a pork chop, you know, some pork loin, beef, whatever. I'm dipping every one of those in ketchup.
Wow.
What the fuck?
Wow.
Colin,
Wow.
I feel like I
Dang,
don't
you
know
related
you.
to this man?
I know it's crazy.
Now here's the thing, because this is the ironic. This is the Colin, the yin and the yang of Colin, because, and it goes into a lot of other parts of my life. Is I like high cuisine too. Like I like going and getting like really good food, where like if you ask for ketchup, they would fucking throw you out. You know, kind of place. And I love that kind of place. And
yeah.
I would never go to a steakhouse and have whatever they got. You know, I go to if they make a burger with an aioli, I'll have the burger with the aioli, etc. and so on. But when I'm in my element, and I'm doing it because when I'm eating at home, I'm not trying to have anything crazy. I'm good with just eating meat and potatoes, ketchup and fucking Pepsi, whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
I respect that because I have much of the same thought process. Like I'll cook food and sometimes it won't look that great, but I'm like, well, it's for me. Like I'm fine with this. But like if I were to eat out, I'm like, I'm expecting a little bit more.
No, 100%.
Right.
I like the authenticity. Talk to me about brands, though, you guys.
Oh, it's got to be Heinz.
There is only
Heinz.
one, right?
Yeah,
there's
gotta
only
be
one
Heinz.
ketchup. It's got to be Heinz.
Is there a Walmart version of Heinz, if you will? Like, you know how they always have their own little
like great
brand?
value or whatever. I'm sure there is. The thing is that back in and it probably was just because our parents were obsessed with keeping groceries far beyond their date. So I just had a bad experience with what happened to have been a Shaw's brand. Shaw's was like a supermarket in New England. Shaw's brand ketchup that was like so bad where I'm like, if you ever like, this was like one of my most like serious conversations with my parents, basically, where the thing was like, if you ever serve me this ketchup again, I'm gonna fucking die because I don't know what's wrong with it. It's all fucked up. And ever since then, all we got was Heinz. I didn't ask for very much, but that's like we needed Heinz ketchup. But I do like Hunt's ketchup, and I will give a shout out to a few others. McDonald's ketchup, which I think they make themselves. Ketchup. Like I love. Once I haven't done it in a long ass time, but you go and eat in the McDonald's and you got the little bins and you use the machine and put the ketchup in the little paper cups.
Sure.
And that ketchup is so good. Like it is perfectly formulated for their fries in some way. Like, you know, McDonald's, they're crazy with that shit. Like there's definitely some sort of
chemistry.
There's like some sort of definite chemistry between those two things where it's like, damn, this is like so good.
There's a diabetic wizard working in the back.
Oh my God. No doubt.
For sure.
Anti-diabetic. There's a lot of brands of ketchup, dude. I was just looking at this. This is insane. How can there be? We grew up with the Heinz family. Should we say that disclaimer right now? And they were lovely people. We went to school with the kids. And of course, like the Heinz family is.
I'm still fucking reeling from ketchup on rice, man. I can't.
That
believe
is too much, man.
That is such a wild thing to do.
I never heard of that.
What I would like to do, I used to go to this Korean greasy spoon in San Francisco. And it was just a counter. And they were really nice, and they just knew me after a while. So I would get the same order every time, which was an omelet with bacon, extra American cheese, and onion, and then potatoes and rice and toast. And I would just put like a line of ketchup down the middle of it, basically. Okay. And then, because then you just take a little bit of the rice and you just get a little bit of the hint of the ketchup and you eat it. You take a piece of the omelet, you might get a little hint of the ketchup and you eat it. You're not getting too crazy with it.
You know what it is though? It's like, it's probably just because I grew, obviously, Puerto Rican household. There's a lot of rice, a lot of rice and beans specifically.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And so for me, it's definitely. Like rice should never be like, to me, it's like rice should either be like as it is, like in like an Asian restaurant where it's like just white rice,
right?
Yeah. Which I love, by the way. There's something about like the blandness. I don't know what it is. Like there's like a delicious blandness to just like a glob of white rice.
Definitely.
I don't know what it is.
We eat white rice like it's going out of style in this house. You don't have to explain it to me.
Yeah. But I don't know. Truth be told, like I was never really a food person until like Lacey and I were together. She really dragged me out, and like was like she would drag me to like eat like dumplings and oysters and all this stuff that I would never under any normal circumstances try. And that kind of ruined me because I was like I became like somewhat of a snob in that regard because of that. And it's like, oh man. Like now it's just like I can't look at certain things and say like I look at ducks as they are, the animal. If I see a duck, I'm instantly hungry. Because they are so, I don't know if you've ever had like really good, like duck is delicious.
Delicious.
Like to a point where it's actually staggering that they haven't been more murdered than they are.
Right, or we haven't hunted them into extinction.
You see them in the case, they have a slot, but they should be all in the meat case.
Yeah, it's crazy that I guess it's because they can actually fly and chickens can't really. So like it's easier to farm them.
They're like, we're out.
But
delicious.
Yeah, duck is just like, I'm not gonna be farmed. What the fuck?
I love it.
But I don't know, man. Duck is delicious.
So fatty.
It's so fat. And the fat season, it's like it's self-seasoning. Imagine being
really
that
is.
Unlucky that like you're just made to be delicious. Like you don't even need to put anything on it. What a poor fucking animal.
Yeah. You're right though, Chris. Underrated protein. Should we call it I like calling it meat. Let's call it meat.
It's great.
Yeah, I don't like the word protein.
Yeah, protein is too.
I've become very familiar with with protein as of the last several months.
Yeah, I bet you are, man. I just take my protein shake when I lift, so probably 4 or 5 times a week. And actually, I've found that if I don't take it, I get my body kind of feels weak. It's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that aspect after this fight is done, and then because I'm definitely not going to drink as many because I'm drinking like mass gainer. It's the cookies and cream one, Matty, that you suggested.
Oh hell yeah, let's go!
Yeah, dude, it's
good.
It's so delicious, but it's also like, oh man, I can tell like once I stop this, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a rough calm down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Well,
maybe put ketchup in your protein shakes.
Yeah, I should have a ketchup protein shake.
That'll be next.
Well, any parting words about ketchup? I thought we would just wrap up with that. I just wanted to see what you guys were feeling about it. What you had to say about it.
My piece.
Yeah.
I think we've all.
I like your courage, Carl.
Thank you.
You know, it's disgusting, but you're genuinely doing you. You know,
I am. I mean, we go through.
That's okay.
We go through so much ketchup. It's comical. Like, the BJ's or Costco's ketchups where you buy 3 of them at a time, like the 3 big bottles, they come in like a little holder. That's what we get. And, but
do you go all natural with the sugar or you stick to the high fructose?
Oh no, high fructose, dude. I'm a shameless high fructose corn syrup guy. It's the same thing with Coke and Pepsi. I don't want fucking Mexican Coke. I don't want European Coke. I want our Coke. It's good. It's so much better. Are you kidding? I'm not.
No.
Oh my.
No, that's crazy. No, the Mexican Coke in the glass bottle is way.
No, I never understood it. It always tasted like I was drinking RC Cola or something like that. Yeah, it's not real Coke.
Lord. It's so much. It's so good out of the glass bottles. I don't like soda at all. Like, I think soda is like genuinely like confused. Like, when I had soda the first time and I burped and I felt it in my nose, I was like, oh, this is gasoline. I shouldn't be drinking this. This is fucked up. It's probably one of the main reasons I'm not fucking morbidly obese. It's because I found other drinks to like satiate that weren't Coca-Cola or like Pepsi. But like, I had I remember when I had a Coke out of a glass bottle the first time, and I was like, this is actually like, I get it. And then I tried it again when I got home out of the plastic, and it was like the normal fructose, and I was like, this fucking sucks again.
Yeah,
what's going on?
Big difference.
It might just be, I know glass affects the taste of fucking everything.
Definitely.
Like I know glass like is pure. Plastic will fuck everything. I remember like when Snapple stopped doing the glass bottles, I basically stopped drinking Snapple entirely. Same. Like I used to religiously buy those lemon teas. Like 12 packs. I fucking loved that.
I love popping the bottom of a Snapple by hitting it.
Boom. Yeah, dude. You hit the bottom, and then and you hear the pop.
Yeah,
dude, right? It doesn't happen anymore. You have like a plastic, and you taste the plastic in it, and it's like this is fucking horrible. I went home recently and I found like I have one remaining glass sealed Snapple.
Ooh.
And I'm keeping that for fucking ever until they bring it back, which they probably will, because it's like one of those things where it's like,
bet they will.
Burger King was like, no more chicken fries, and then everybody stopped going to Burger King because that was like the best fucking thing they had, and then they were like, just kidding, we'll make it work, don't worry. Those things were crack though. Like there was a good moment of time where I was addicted to those fucking chicken fries.
They are really good. They're super good.
It's the only thing they have that's like, God. All right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disgust all of you, but I wanted to just get your takes on it.
No, it's good. It's a good cap to the episode.
Yeah, good cap to this interesting episode of Constellation. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us this week. We were pleased to have you. We'll have you again soon, and thank you all out there for your love, kindness, and support of all things Last Stand Media, Constellation, Sacred Symbols, Defining Duke, Knockback, etc. We couldn't do without you over on patreon.com/laststandmedia, but of course you can get us on free feeds for podcast services, and you can follow us on YouTube as well. And if you join us on Patreon, use the RSS feed. It's easier that way. And find us on Discord as well. We're over there. There's like almost 6,000 of you over there now. Half of you are annoying me, so you better stop it. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Take care, guys.
Constellation is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show was conceived by and is directed and hosted by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-host is my brother, Dagan Moriarty. The show is produced by Last Stand's executive producer, Dustin Furman, and is edited by associate producer, Ben Smith. All Last Stand theme music is by Ramon Narvaez, and all of our graphics and logos are by Dagan Moriarty. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's podcasts, including Constellation, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest support tier, and we're infinitely grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor.